Welcome to Moonbase 2.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Moonbase 2 podcast. My name's Andy, Kubrickman at TFW, and I'm not joining you this week, in fact, as me and Mikey decided that since the news is a little bit weak, as it tends to be at the moment, that we were going to put off the news section of the show, and instead, Mikey and Mr. Vangelus, Chris from, what's his show called? WTF at TFW, they did a podcast on talking about Transformers Cyberverse. So I thought, well, we'll slap that out here because it shouldn't really be a Patreon show because it's too deep Transformers-centric. And since this is a Transformers-centric podcast, really the Transformers stuff should be free. So that's what you're getting this week. Next week, you'll get a double dosing of news for whatever that's worth in this trying time of lack of news. And you'll also hear what me and Mikey have been doing for 2 weeks, if my memory holds up, and if Mikey does something cool instead of, I don't know, the usual lame stuff he always does. Boom! Boom! Right, so anyway, thank you guys for listening, and Mikey will now take over the show. Go on, Mikey! Go on!
Hello, world. Impromptu show. I don't know what this is going out as, but it's going out because I've had this in my mind for about 6 weeks now and I needed to talk to someone about it. We are going to talk Cyberverse, the show that came and went in a blink of a fecking eye. Not since Animated's toy line didn't start until season 2 has something like this happened. With me today is a man from Canada.
He is a man from Canada, he being me. Hello. I'm Chris. I'm Vangelus on the internet. Is this so? You don't know if this is going to be a woo woo or if this is going to be a normal episode or something special? Is there going to be a whole new intro for this one?
Who knows? It could just be Andy humming.
I'd be down for that.
Andy, hum us a bar at the start of this.
Oh, what good humming that was!
That man hummed for life.
I cried.
But we are here to talk about Cyberverse, because like I said, it came and went so fast. It seems to have left a very small impression on the overall fandom, and I think that's unfair.
It also came and went really fast, but let's not forget, it also had 3 seasons.
Yes, it had 3 whole seasons, 3 long, like in terms of episode counts, long seasons.
I would also say in terms of, like, the runtime is a thing to talk about, but in terms of the contents of those seasons, that was, I think, 3 full seasons of really cool stuff, and kind of multiple, like, it went through the RID 2015 thing, multiple toy lines, too. Like kind of shifting what the toy lines were as they went, and also, everyone should watch it. If you're, like, I'm just going to say this right now, and then I'll defend it as we go. Cyberverse, I said this elsewhere, this is the G1 remake that every single adult fan was complaining that they wanted ever since, like, the late 90s. This was basically G1, slightly more mature, with references to all your fandom stuff. Literally. Also, less humans. Literally. Like, it hits every single I want a new G1 bullet point, short of I want people to urinate in trees and blood. That wasn't in it, but otherwise.
I don't remember that episode on any show.
That was in Dreamwave episode 1.
Oh yeah! Oh no!
A man pees and then gets stepped on in a crimson smush.
Is that Megatron or was that someone else?
That was Megatron. Megatron entered the world. That Megatron entered our world, stepping on a man who just urinated.
Oh, yeah, I'll never be able to read that again without thinking about that. Then again, I'll never be reading that again if I have any say.
You gotta read it sometimes to remember who on earth Lazarus was.
Do I? Because I remember his dull, gormless face quite well.
His name was Lazarus.
He had a little scar.
Yeah, he had a little scar. He had a little scar, and I keep forgetting that he died.
Very quickly.
Yeah. You're just like, hey, what's up, Lazarus?
He didn't last long.
Oh, you're gone.
Yeah. Like, he was kind of the Abraham Dante of his time.
I don't even know who that is.
Scorponok's head in IDW. The cowboy man. Remember him?
Oh, yeah. I guess, you know what? Here, let me say it again. I don't even know who that is.
Oh dear, it's good times. But so Cyberverse, 3 seasons, 18 to 20 something episodes per. The first of the Transformer shows really to dig into the current runtime of 10 minutes, the cartoon friendly, slot friendly one, shall we say? Cartoon friendly, slot friendly. Oh my god.
Cartoon friendly, slot friendly, and let's just hat trick it, internet friendly too.
I'm blaming that one on Sunstroke. But
that's my favorite Transformer.
Which one? Yeah, Sunstroke. He was great. Him and Sunspot and UV radiation. They got on great. It was real thing. Like when I heard about this show originally, I was very, very nervous. I don't like 10-minute runtime shows very much. That said, I'm a huge fan of Genlock and Ruby. So, but I was really worried that it was just going to kind of be like Teen Titans Go-y. Particularly since a lot of shows that have started since then following the same format on similar channels, stuff like Thundercats Howl, which are very Teen Titans Go-y. Just, even Teen Titans Go had more respect for the dead. But, so I went into this cautious. I liked the early designs. I wasn't crazy about the animation at the same time, because it was a time where I was really down on 3D animation because of the whole artificial frame rate approach.
I think that when this show got announced, we were also all still coming off of the Machinima trilogy in a way that was, me included, absolutely unfair to everything that we were looking at when we would look at stuff and go, oh, but that Machinima trilogy, and it's like that's not fair. That was not fair of any of us. We were very what I'll say is it was also legitimate. We were all very annoyed by that trilogy. But attributing its problems to stuff like Cyberverse in its previews was, in retrospect, really silly. It's completely different shows.
Yeah, we heard the runtime. We saw Windblade as the main character. We saw it was CGI, and we saw it wasn't union voice actors, and we all kind of panicked.
Yeah, and you know what? Just to I don't mean to keep dunking on it now that it's well and dead, but Cyberverse is just
no.
It's one more really solid case as to why the Machinima trilogy has very few excuses for how poorly it went. Because Cyberverse owned every single bullet point that I was ugh, about. Cyberverse by season 3 completely owned it. I think Cyberverse is a masterclass in the 10-minute runtime without in the context of not being a legit how do you put this? Something like Steven Universe utterly owned the 10-minute runtime in a way that I think you can't even expect other shows to match up to.
Well, I'd say it defined the 10-minute runtime in many ways.
Yeah, and I think many would immediately jump in and go Adventure Time, and I haven't seen Adventure Time, so I'm totally laying out my ignorance there.
I've only seen snippets. I've never really gotten into it.
Yeah,
I've never really gotten into Steven Universe either, if I'm honest, but I at least, I see in Steven Universe what I don't see in Adventure Time.
Yeah, and Cyberverse, I think, by season 3 especially, just really figured out how to have a compelling story told in 10-minute chunks. By making the 10 minutes be the good 10 minutes of a given 22-minute cartoon show. The union voice actors, their voice directing was pretty rough in season 1, but every single actor, I think, stepped up, especially Optimus Prime's actor. That dude, I gotta look up his name again, because I'm a horrible person, I keep forgetting.
Jason something.
He was the one.
He's a child. No one cares.
Yeah, he was doing vines of movie Optimus Prime, and then was on Ellen doing his vines, and apparently that led to him actually getting the role. And that's a story that could end badly, but his ended really well. I think he was owning that role by season 3, and I was pretty hard on his performance in season 1.
I'm harder on the writing for him as we got further into it, because I saw how good he was. I'm gonna say I like this Optimus quite a bit. But there are times when you can feel the yoke around his neck, that yoke that sort of dragged Prime Optimus into that big hole that he was constantly trying to pull himself out of.
Yeah,
yeah.
I got the impression, because a lot of the show's crew were talking on Twitter a lot, and I didn't keep up with
much.
Yeah, I didn't keep up with all of it really well, but I got the impression that lots of the show's weaknesses came from voices above the production team. kind of saying, don't take these many chances, but like the folks working on the show were just firing on all cylinders. Like some of those brainstorm ideas they were talking about that never even really made it to page. I was like, the fact you were even thinking about that, holy crap.
Yeah, we did an interview with May. She was one of the staff writers, and fascinating what they didn't use.
Yeah. Yeah, that show, I'll say it also right now. That show deserved the Rescue Bots runtime. Like that show deserved to have at least 1 or 2 more seasons. Their formula was perfect to just run in perpetuity. Like every season would just take the status quo, erase it, write a new one, thrust the cast we were watching into it, and then bring back the familiar through flashback episodes, which, thanks to season 1, were, I think, seamlessly established as part of the tone of the show. It was built to go on forever.
Yeah, like, it was a very organic world that it wasn't necessarily the war story would continue. Well, no, a story would continue. The war story would probably have faded into the distance because that wasn't the story they were telling anymore. Because season 3 isn't about the war.
Oh,
season 2 is about the end of the war.
Yeah. Oh man, like that the season 2 opener time skip is one of the best. That was the moment where I was like, this show knows what it's doing, where it's like, we're going to skip past season 1 is before G1, then G1 happens, then we go to season 2, and we will have a giant, just like G1 dumbass episode style story as like a 5-part opener. I'm like, this is beautiful. Like a doomsday device on the moon story. Yeah,
they had a big cannon on the moon. We'll blow up the Earth and find the all-spark from the fragments.
Yeah.
That was it.
As the opener to season 2.
Oh dear. But right, so for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's very hard to pin down Cyberverse's premise because, as Chris said, it has quite a few. Each season is very much a distinct entity. Season 1 is basically set in 2 timelines, the past and the present. Windblade and Bumblebee has lost his memories. He can't talk. He is working with Windblade to regain his memories while also dealing with a Decepticon force on Earth and trying to find a mysterious, who could this be, king of the dinosaurs.
And I should just say, in case
also Shockwave is there.
Yeah, Shockwave is there. And let me just say this: when he says Bumblebee can't talk, even in like the first episode, Bumblebee can't talk in the real world. In his brain palace, he can talk completely fine. In the past, he can talk. So for a show where like the opening premise is, Bumblebee's going to be mute with amnesia, he's also talking all the time through season 1.
Yeah.
So like, it's like they did both. It's like they went in knowing the beloved idea for some of the younger fans of mute Bumblebee and the way a lot of older fans were sick of it. And so they just like, we'll do both. And I was like, this is actually a stroke of genius. Like, also, I'm going to say it so I get it off my chest. If you haven't seen Cyberverse and you're interested, it's barely an iota of your time right now. Just go watch it. It's
you're doing nothing else.
Go watch it. It's not like you're like when you say 20 episodes, that's 200 minutes. It's about 3 hours per season. You can watch a season a day, with it being about as long as a big movie. Like,
go. But yeah, show starts, and I was quietly impressed. I had concerns. At the time, the voice cast. Now I know it was probably more the voice direction and some inexperience, but I thought Windblade did some good performances as long as she wasn't asked to really delve too deep. Which she has a few moments where she sort of screams and it's like ah stuff like that. And I was really annoyed by the radio voice, not necessarily because it was the radio voice, but because their approach to radio voice, which is a very distinct one, was to have Bumblebee's voice actor do all the voices.
Yeah, which also to me was
weird.
it was just another part of what I found kind of endearing in those opening episodes was like they're doing the radio voice, but in the least Bumblebee's a mute way that they could possibly do in comparison to Prime in the movies. Like he's basically a speaking character who has been adjusted to match up with nostalgia people might have for 2007.
Yeah. So what were your initial impressions? Those opening episodes, Windblade coming to Earth, the Seekers, whatever. What were your thoughts?
So the first thing that I was when we saw a clip, like a preview clip, I actually was really into the animation that I was seeing because I was worried about it being, for lack of a better word, like machinima chintzy, and I didn't.
I always say framey.
Yeah, like it's to me it's less framey and more like the difference between framey and I don't think this was even storyboarded. And so I was seeing like I was kind of seeing the storyboards in the animation, and that was enough to make me feel all right, because I also didn't really know who Boulder Media were necessarily.
Yeah, they did Foster's, wasn't it?
And
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends and Danger Mouse.
And I, a Philistine, had not seen either. So this is my introduction to Boulder Media as well, and so that intro clip, I was like, I think they kind of get how to do a Transformers action scene, and that's enough to make me watch a season, because I think there are folks who have at times not even gotten how to do a Transformers action scene, like, for instance, whatever happened to the Machinima series. And so my initial impression was like, Bumblebee's a mute, but he's also talking all the time, so it's kind of like he's not a mute, and I'm digging this. I like the dynamic between him and Windblade, and I appreciate that there are actually a ton of Decepticons in these opening episodes, so it doesn't feel like an isolated show where there's a small cast, thus less models. Like, it still felt like a populated show to me, despite there being, like, literally no humans ever appearing. And then the flashback framing was another thing, where in the bullet points, I was like, this flashback thing, this could be neat, but this could also be a way for the show to have no stakes. And then it was that first clip we saw of Megatron giving the speech where Prime and Bumblebee are at his side, and I was like, wait, this is actually this reminds me of IDW. And then the sheer amount of IDW that was in basically the history of the Cyberverse continuity through its flashbacks, I was like, okay, these flashbacks are actually kind of excellent, because they don't feel like they're killing time, or at least most of them. Like, I feel like I'm actually learning, like, they turned into world building that also drew from familiar media, the IDW version 1, and some of the good stuff from that. The way that the Decepticons, they weren't just cartoonish villains, but they were all part of the same society at some point. And I remembered people telling me, like, get to the McAdams episode. And I feel like it was oversold a little bit, but they weren't wrong. Like, the McAdams episode kind of encapsulates this underlying tragedy throughout all the flashback sequences that's really understated, but like was way heavier than I was expecting. Like, the constant reminders, these were all friends and neighbors and fellow citizens before they became these cartoon characters on a good guy team and a bad guy team. And I really appreciated how the show didn't feel like the show was trying to just be dumb filler for 10 minutes at a time. Like, it felt like fans were working on it, and that it wanted to communicate stakes across a season at least. And this is before we get like halfway through even. So I was really pleasantly surprised. My main bummer was the first episode after the kind of intro couple was the one that started with a Prime log bit and had a lot of Optimus Prime in it. And this is when Optimus Prime, I think, was the weakest character in the show. And thankfully...
was that the one where they were in space?
Yes.
Chasing bugs.
Yes, and that episode, I think, is actually kind of standalone, because I liked the ones before it, and I remember liking the ones after it, and I remember that being the hardest of the 10 minutes that I had to get through of all the episodes in Season 1. So it was a really, really good first impression to me.
For me, I was pleasantly surprised. I thought the animation was way better than I was expecting, because I had been burnt a lot, not just Machinima, but a lot of the animation I'd been watching had really disappointed me. Like, I'd just come off the Godzilla anime, which was a fucking painful trip to try and justify why I was watching it. I come off...
Like just to set context, I had also not watched a lot of the intentional 24 frames per second animation that I think a ton of people have been watching in the last few years.
Yeah.
And so I'm still okay with the concept. I think it's in part I haven't seen some of the weaker entries that were doing it just because. I've heard a lot about that Godzilla anime. I did watch...
I'd say. Don't watch Ultraman.
I did watch Ultraman, and I was okay with it. It didn't distract me very much.
It did. I think I'm just so aware of it now.
Yeah, like I like when I see it, I'm like, what is it doing? And in Ultraman, I think it was just on the cusp of being a button they pushed, but it how do I put this? it felt like it was doing something stylistically that I was all right with. But I also really like Ultraman, so I have bias. Like I like the story and I like the designs. I like so much about that show that the frame rate was like, I'm not like I love this frame rate, but it didn't really bug me that much.
Yeah. Also, I should say I was coming off a Gridman, so like I was setting unrealistic standards for every show to do with the Ultras.
I also still haven't seen Gridman as this recording, and I think
so good.
I'm gonna watch it sometimes. I know it's good, but like I'm just waiting for that moment. It's on that list of shows. There's a new spot open because I just watched Dark Crystal finally, so it's
good man. Finally, that's the
but
you hated it.
Oh man, let me tell you how much I hate the Muppets. No, I mean, Capsule. I loved it, but yeah.
Oh dear, I'll never get over some of the voice cast for that show. But yeah, I was impressed, and like you said, like that weird Bumblebees like remembering a hijink they had while looking for the Allspark was strange, and it also some of the worst dialogue Prime had in the whole show. The standout for that was also one of the most bizarre elements of the show, which was Grimlock.
Mm-hmm.
Who I do want to touch on him specifically, him and a couple of other characters in a bit, but now for some people the big turnaround episode, the one that made the adult fan goes oh, was Terminal Velocity, which was Blur, Hot Rod, and Bumblebee go have fun on a planet.
Yeah, and then one of them dies horribly by the end, like
on screen.
Yeah, it's just
he melts.
Physically dies while sad about it and saying, "No, it's okay." And that episode, I think,
guys. After they who was it with like a wheeljack repaint who killed him or something?
I think it was literally Slicer. Like it was like Wheeljack in Slicer-ish colors. Who basically committed an act of bioterrorism. Either that or committed a now kind of timely story of not paying attention to having a pandemic virus crawling all over his body. That episode, I think, ends up becoming a little, I hate to use the word, I don't know a better one. It ends up becoming a little overrated because I think if you weren't there for it, it's not like the punch in the throat episode that it was when nobody really knew what Cyberverse was.
But we were all expecting a cutesy-wootsy 10-minute, aren't we having a romp?
Yeah, and the Blur one-step changer not being on shelves anymore also robs the episode of a little bit of its ongoing impact, where, like, we're out on toy hunts seeing this happy-go-lucky Blur toy chilling out, and we're like, that guy's dead. That guy he's dead.
He's super dead. He ain't coming back. It also, unfortunately, had my first real, like I said, I had problems with how Prime and a few characters were directed. It was my first time where I felt the actor wasn't up to the job, and that was Hot Rod. We'll talk about that later. But I thought his vocal performance was one of the weakest early on.
It was much weaker than it was later on, and he's another one where I was really happy that his actor kind of picked it up.
Yeah. But that's the one that attracts attention because, oh my god, people died. Which, when you think about it, what does that say about us?
Well, you know what?
It's episode people. Wow. When McAdams was a much stronger episode to show people.
It is. McAdams, I think, is an actual poignant episode, but like Blur just straight up dying along with his entire planet. Is like it's a perfect bullet point in the hey, this is that G1 that y'all wanted back in like Usenet days in 1999 or whatever when we were all teenagers, griping about wanting hardcore animation stuff. It's like, okay, it's G1 but also people die along with planets.
Yeah. Followed by Shadow Striker.
Yeah, also
that was the next episode.
Body horror? Like
Does that Seeker have two heads? Yes. Why?
Oh.
Why not?
Like I am an avowed. I try to be an avowed, I guess, but I am a very unsubtle fan of body horror in Transformers. So, that was hitting a whole bunch of my switches.
Yeah. For me at the time, I want to talk about some of the characters, like I said, separately. But at the time, one of the things that was really grabbing me was the flashbacks, because I thought they did an amazing, not just like, oh look, we're adding a bit of depth and stuff, but just even simple things like the sports episode. Real world building. Like, Terminal Velocity, there's Velocitron is an entire, it's a pleasure planet, basically. It's a sports, it's a game zone that's a planet. Giving the Transformers like a game that they play with Cube as well, that they just, they had a culture beforehand, which they frequently don't, because we define them usually on the term of they're killing each other, they're in a war, isn't it sad? But like really late, like the idea that like flyers saw themselves as above other people.
Yeah,
that's such a simple idea. But I really enjoyed that world building aspect to it.
Yeah,
and like the fact it kept on going as well. Like it took a different form in the later seasons, but that's what really told me that these guys were like, okay, we're not just doing the snippets. We're going as deep as we can. We're using this time as well as we can. And we're moving forward. And that was before they even got, like, really good at it.
Yeah,
season 1 is the weakest season. Yeah. But it's still good.
Yeah, I feel like everyone working on that show has not made it a secret either, that season 1 is not as good as season 2 or 3, but it's more in the form of they didn't give up and they got really good at what they were doing. And there were some bangers in season 1, but they just got better and better. Like, season 2... it's not even like it's baby steps leading to a good season 3, like the story sometimes is. It is season 2 was...
No, there's a big jump in quality.
Yeah, it is miles better than an already watchable season 1. And season 3 arguably is less of a jump in quality, I feel, but season 3 did some other stuff.
I don't know. Season 3 has something that I would just basically describe it as the bravest season of Transformers ever.
I do not disagree. I do not disagree. I just don't know that the jump from 2 to 3 is the same as the jump from 1 to 2 necessarily. Not in a criticizing way, really. Like I'm not.
I would say the jump from the first arc of season 3 and season 2 is pretty mild.
Yeah. It's not the night and day of 1 to 2, but I'll agree with you. Halfway through season, or not halfway, you know the bit in season 3.
4 episodes into season 3.
Yeah, season 3. I guess if we pretend that season 3 opens with the season 2 finale, then yes, the jump is it's not as long, but it is much higher. I guess if it's in a different, it's if season 1 to 2 was X, then 2 to 3 was Y. On a graph.
Yeah. We've made a graph.
Like we're by the time we talk about that, we're probably going to just say what it is, because I think at this point, if you haven't watched Cyberverse and you're still listening and you're adamantly not going to watch it, then I don't know what else to tell you. I guess you're here for the ride, but please go watch it, because it's really worth your time as a Transformers fan.
Yeah. No, it's really surprisingly good, and it's on YouTube as well, if in most countries now, so you should be able to get a hold of at least one season of it. But yeah, like I'm just looking at the other episodes in season 1, and like of course you had the Mayor Grid one, which was Windblade gets tortured, because of course it does, like the woman can't stop. You had, and I thought the end arc for season 1 was really strong and had some this was when I realized they could do combat really well. That volcano fight scene.
Oh yeah,
because there's a lot of really good fight choreography in that.
Yeah, I was getting into it. Like I don't want to just because this might just be new toy smell, but like it was making me think of some of the moments in Prime where the fight scenes were really getting me too. Where like the fight choreography and stuff.
Not quite on the same level, because I don't think the animation had quite the same weight, but I think the choreography was there.
Yeah, and also, like, I don't want to just keep, like, naming off stuff, but Teletran X, also, absolutely unexpected addition, who was delightful by, like, minute 5. And also an actor who I believe, as far as I can tell, that is their first voice role ever. And I'm like, Teletran X is such a character. I assume that was, like, an experienced voice actor, but the credits were telling me, no, this is the first job. And I'm like, well, that's someone who's got a future, because... the Teletran X is delightful. One of the best additions to the Transformers canon the show did, amongst many interesting additions.
Yeah, I thought just the back and forth with him and Windblade I thought was great. Absolutely great. He's just not crew. Just constantly calling her that. And just to the point where you didn't feel it was programming.
Or just the bit when he, like, I forgot what he does, but he has the animation help with this too. He does something when they're escaping the silo, and he's like, I'm helping! And he has this little happy, like, bob left and right, and then flies off, and I'm like, this is perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah. No, and I love they kept him around as well, because I wasn't expecting them to.
Yeah, I mean, I got, when they teased that he was dead, I was like, don't you dare!
Yeah, that was worrying. But yeah, I don't have much to say about the individual episodes in season 1. Like I said, they're all kind of flowing into each other. What I really want to point out about season 1, that does very much distinguish it from season 2. Most of the main cast are not prominent Transformers characters.
Mm-hmm.
Bumblebee and Windblade are the two largest ones. The villains, Shockwave comes in at the end. Most of the Decepticons are brand new, or they're basically new versions of characters. Like, Thundercracker has very little in common with any other version of Thundercracker.
Yeah,
he's enjoyable, but...
I dare say that Slipstream's, I call them Slipstream's employees, they're not really like any other Seekers who have had speaking roles before. They're like all the background Seekers if they were suddenly main characters in the best way.
Like giving Acid Storm like a regular role, and also having an entire like subculture evolve around Acid Storm as well. So it was hilarious.
And
what was it? The animation error that became a character trait.
Yeah. Acid Storm is just fluid, whatever. Like, and also like an excellent.
Which head am I wearing today? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Slipstream was kind of the star for me for season 1 of the modern cast. I loved her. I thought she was great. I thought fantastic voice performance, really solid writing, good rivalry with Windblade. The rare time she's interacting with Starscream, I thought they really got the balance of her being very competent and having to be subservient to this Yahoo.
Yeah, I loved the dynamic between her, Shockwave, and Starscream in season 1, where it's kind of revealed, like, Slipstream is just a really good, hardworking manager, whose bosses are trash, and whose employees suck at what they do, but they're her team, damn it, and she's gonna put in a good day's work. And I love that dynamic of, like, she's good at what she does, gets no respect from her superiors, and is making a mountain out of a bunch of pebbles who work for her. It's a great dynamic.
Yeah, she's really sympathetic, and also another really good female villain introduced in season 1 was Shadow Striker.
Yes, yeah.
Who I loved. I thought, again, really strong voice performance. Her background is great, and they really make use of her throughout the whole show.
Yeah, she's not a one and done.
No, which is there are one and dones in this show, but they are very well used.
Yeah,
very cleverly used. But are there before we touch on a couple of more notable ones, are there any other characters that kind of grabbed you?
In season 1, I would say, because it's our intro to him, like, not only is it the greatest characterization, like, mathematically that McAdams has ever gotten in a piece of fiction, but what an interesting mystery to set up and, like, not answer for 2 seasons of, like, clearly something's up with McAdam when he's literally speaking to you through your own dream visions from the past to the future. Who is he? I don't know. We'll find out later. Like, I love that seed was planted in season 1.
Great design as well.
Yeah.
Although I found it very funny the amount of people were really disappointed when he turned out to be McAdam and not wrong.
Yeah, I really like that. As I don't know if it was intentional or not, but, like, what a great red herring that is aware of who we are as older fans to kind of go, like, yeah, he's alluded to being omnipotent in a Primus type way, and we're gonna make him look kind of like Rung. He'll also kind of look like Thu, which I can't have been on purpose, but
you never know.
I thought it made the final reveal, like, even more satisfying of, like, no, this is not, we're not doing the thing. We're doing yet another, like, original tweak. I'm like, all right, cool.
McAdam was just really, really solid. I was amused by how much Drift showed up and never did anything.
I got this weird impression that no one on the show who knew Drift liked Drift, because it felt like on a meta level, Drift was there to do all the crummy jobs, storytelling wise. Right up to season 3, where I'm like, all right, someone working on this just doesn't like Drift, and that's fine. But I'd like to know someday.
Yeah, no, I'd be curious. I'd say it was May, but she didn't come. She likes Drift, and she didn't come in until season 2. So, I think it was season 2. But yeah, so the main characters, the big names. For me, the one to talk about is Grimlock, and not for the reason everyone would think I want to talk about him, because you have this show, which is bringing in these very either G1 or IDW-esque versions. Megatron, kind of a combination of G1 and IDW. Optimus, kind of a combination of G1 and IDW. Bumblebee, he's a movie in the G1. Windblade, she's very IDW. Blah, blah. And then you hit Grimlock, who they worked in a bit of classic Grimlock in the dinosaur mode, but their approach was to have him be a gallivanting adventurer, articulate, friendly, and lovely.
Yes!
No face to the point where I got annoyed when he had it.
Yeah, like the biggest draw of his deluxe toy.
From how they're writing everyone else. Yeah. But what a departure from how everyone else was done, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like it was like I obviously like the show, so maybe this is like that is the tone that is on my brain when I'm talking about it. But like, I feel like their decisions with Grimlock are in season 1 are what can inform you that the folks working on this show care about Transformers, but not to the point of detriment. Where you go, okay, we're gonna have like an evergreen style Grimlock. Everyone's gonna want him to do the thing Grimlock does. That also can be a colossal limiter on what we can do with him, because everyone expects him to do the one thing. And the way that they laid out, the way that they just dead ass, no explanation, he is the surprise part of his personality first for most of the season until they find him in the present, was a really cool decision too. And generally, like I love what they did with the Grimlock. It's such an interesting take. It does not denigrate or erase any of the classic Grimlocks, and it avoids having to then be compared to all the classic Grimlocks. It's playing in its own little sandbox that then ended up also including RC in a way that made Cyberverse's Grimlock and RC like very interesting characters.
Yeah, no, I thought they had a wonderful dynamic. I loved it whenever RC picked up a gun in this show, and I thought the two of them, like an entire RC, jumping to season 2 briefly, but RC has barely shown up in the show. She then gets an entire episode with one of the main characters and doesn't feel like she's secondary to him. It feels like two equal characters who clearly get on, who clearly have some sort of relationship or bond or something. And like this is something that's been going on off screen this whole time. These two have been best buds for the whole time. We just never spent time with them.
Yeah,
that's how it felt, and I thought it, like the dynamic they had at the end was wonderful.
And that's also speaking to the quality of the show's ability to world build, is these one-shot episode spotlight things that G1 would always do, not to keep dragging up that parallel, but it's true. This show was really good at making you feel like what you just described, that when a character we haven't really heard from shows up and is familiar with everyone, it comes across so naturally that it's really easy to buy into it. That like, oh, yeah, clearly they just know each other and have been friends for ages. It was just all not in the episodes I was watching. It was in the eons of history that is off screen.
Yeah.
Which I'll also say, small quality you can attribute to the 10-minute runtime, because it means that you don't wonder why in the 22 minutes we weren't seeing it before, because we're like, wow, we're seeing these truncated, efficient episodes, so there's tons that could be happening off screen.
But yeah, anything else in season 1 you think is noteworthy?
Grimlock's a big one. And a lot of the Decepticons who appear in season 1 really hit their mark in season 2. So, yeah,
yes,
I'd say I just say like anything I'm going to say probably is me remembering season 2 stuff instead of season 1. So, Oh, you know what I'll say? Season 1 ends really well. Season 1 ends really well. In that could have been the end of the entire series, and I would have said, what a really cool miniseries they made that left a mark.
Yeah, no, that I agree. It was, and it felt like that. It was set up like, okay, we just want to say, and they went off to have adventures just in case.
Yeah, they went off and did G1.
Yeah, but they didn't actually.
Nope.
Because season 2 hits, and they opened very G1-y, but I mean, season 2 ended up being such a different animal to season 1. The time skip was fantastic as a concept.
So good.
I think it was really well executed. They basically do
So
a very
good.
short montage showing that the Autobots and Decepticons started fighting on Earth. Humans found out. Humans have a YouTube. No one really cares, and humans don't appear in the show apart from being mentioned occasionally. And at one time, the Decepticons do a propaganda video. But they open. They haven't really spent time with Starscream in the show. They haven't spent a lot of time with Megatron beyond his relationship with Optimus. Most of the Decepticons are new. A lot of the Autobots are new. The show completely switches its main character focus. Optimus becomes the main character, with Bumblebee a prominent secondary character. Windblade, again, prominent secondary. The Decepticons are suddenly much more plot important and much more character important. They work in the new toy gimmick, which is the armor, but in a very distinct way in how they handle it. And kind of, for me, the big success of season 2 was Starscream.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what I expected, but it weren't that.
Like, you know what season 2 also exemplified was again part of the quality of the writing, part of adjusting really well to the 10-minute runtime and knowing their audience. Anything where they kind of glossed over some details where kids, maybe wouldn't really care that much because they're more interested in like what's going on in the present. Any character relationships we didn't see were built on the back of the evergreen G1 relationships that we as fans all know and expect and are waiting to see retold before us. And Cyberverse would just not retell it. They'd go, okay, you already know the relationship between Megatron and Starscream, so we're gonna skip past all that stuff and get to the cool new stuff. And I really like that approach, because the way that they had Megatron and Starscream do their whole shtick in a way that ended in a way that I was not expecting at all at the end of that opening multi-parter was just like, no, okay, so
No, that caught me off guard.
Like all those little clips, I was like, wait, these clips weren't from the show. These are clips from a show that doesn't exist that happened between season 1 and 2, because they know that we know this already. And it's like, we don't need to be retold Starscream's a scheming second in command. It's like, no, we know that. He obviously is. So he's going to make his play now, and it's going to go bad, and he's going to straight up get killed, beaten to death, and thrown out of a ship.
Yeah. Quietly, in one of the most effective scenes I can think of, where Megatron doesn't say a word.
Yeah. At
all.
He
just goes in. Yeah. This has happened too many times.
And it happened too many times that were never in the show, but we know it. That's what I just love, that approach of like not wasting our time because they know we know, and just jumping ahead, and also like, yeah, it's opening up with, we're gonna kill Starscream. I'm like, you're what? You started featuring him already a whole bunch. And then, like to the point where you feel bad for what's happening to him, because he's trying all of the old Starscream plays to get out of it, and he's trying to shift the blame. He's trying to accept the blame. He's trying to begging for his life.
The fact he's saying all the lines that like, oh, he's doing the pleading, he's doing everything else, while being beaten to death, and he doesn't miss a beat. He's just like, every time the fist comes off his face, and Megatron, I really didn't mean to. Oh.
Yeah,
like there's never a moment where it feels like he feels G1, but he does, like, if that was Prime Starscream, you'd have a very different reaction. I've said this before, this always works. Why isn't it working this time?
And it was a better version of the 86 movie's Starscream death, in that it was Megatron doing it. Not a reborn Megatron with a completely different voice actor. Like, this was like, no, this is the Megatron who just nearly died, who has had enough. And it played off a lot more like there was a relationship between the two, rather than, like, the 86 movie, tonally, Galvatron always comes off like this new character who's showing up and killing Starscream. And we know he's not, and the lines say he's not, but tonally it always comes off like he's just another new guy. getting rid of another old voice actor. And in this one, you can feel it, and I loved it. I just loved getting to see what happens when G1 Starscream pushes it too far, and Megatron is still there. It was good. And then that and then Megatron doing the social media PR campaign to try to that was I loved that, because also, for something that was really goofy, that was so dark that he just killed somebody and now is going on social media with a hashtag to be like, it's a shame how the Autobots just killed Starscream, my brave second in command.
And then a load of comments on the side saying hashtag Starscream.
Yeah.
R.A.P. Starscream.
F.
But yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is when we really dig into characters like Megatron, like Soundwave, like Wheeljack and Optimus, I would say, are the big Autobots to come in. But like, I would say, for me, the big star of the Decepticons, and part of this, I'm trying to separate my opinion from season 3, was Soundwave. His voice performance, excellent. Really good effects, but the fact they dropped the whole Soundwave superior blah 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 thing until it became a thing he said. His personality was very new, and the gimmick of the music broke me when I realized that he was playing the background music mostly to piss off anyone within hearing distance.
Yeah,
like he that bit, what is it, like Shockwave turns around and he just like wah wah, and you realize he plays really loud rock music because he knows it pisses you off.
That he also did it to Shockwave when it was just the two of them in a hallway. The sheer energy between the two of them. Like, I feel if we're gonna talk shipping, to me it's Wheeljack. Shockwave is the one to legitimately talk about. Like, and I'm not even joking. Legit. Yeah. There's an energy between them that I really want to go into.
They were probably dating.
But like the aggro wave energy in that scene was intense and really fun to watch. And I also want to give a shout out to Soundwave's voice actor, Mark Swint.
Really good.
Yeah,
really liked his performance.
I believe I hung out with that dude at a New York Comic-Con in a parking lot once in like 2011 when he was not yet doing a lot of voice work, but was like getting around and getting out there. There was some other connection. I think it might have been like an old Channel Awesome thing.
As well.
He's what?
Grimlocks as well?
No, Grimlock was someone else. But I remember his...
Grimlock has the same voice as Soundwave. Soundwave is Mark Swint. Yeah. Ryan Anders is Shockwave, and Ryan Anders does Shockwave and Grimlock,
Yeah. Also, two really good performances, I'll say. But I just wanted to give a shout out because, like, I think that Soundwave... Because I remember, because I was seeing on Twitter, Mark Swint was talking about really enjoying getting to play Soundwave, and I was like, he was cool, but he barely got to do anything in season 1, and so Soundwave kind of getting in season 2 and 3, kind of picking it up. I was like, this is well deserved, and it's really cool to see.
No, I thought it was really, I enjoyed Shockwave in season 1, but he was kind of generic. I thought like the relationship with him and Wheeljack was really well handled. Clearly there's a bit of a we were dating back in the day kind of vibe. I love their focus episode where it basically Wheeljack's kind of the only one Shockwave can talk to. Yeah, like, which was a wonderful scene of just like he just comes in, he thinks it's the hologram, but he's just like, oh man, if you saw the day I had.
Yeah. And
at the end, he just lets him go.
Well, also,
which I thought was real. We'll meet again.
In the McAdams episode of season 1, where they kind of lay out the two of them, you know, were tinkerer buddies or whatever. I thought that the really softly tragic thing was that all this time later, Shockwave still had the dancing minions routine somewhere in his caches. Like he never got rid of it. And I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, no, I thought that was really good. Which is also like in one of the best episodes of season 2, which is the most mature episode in my opinion, which is Parlay. Which is just like, this is the nth time Optimus and Megatron have tried to sit down and talk. And the idea of Megatron and Optimus repeatedly having attempts at truce on both sides and then you see how easily everyone relates to each other.
Yeah.
Like there's boundaries between individuals, but in general they'll pair up very quickly.
Yeah, and it was the thing I mentioned before. It's just this constant underlying, like really, I think I would call it subtle in that it's not in it very much, but these constant reminders of kind of just the tragic nature of an entire civilization going to war. That clearly these people could all be friends and neighbors, and they're not. And I really like that they kept reminding us of that, and especially like there's kind of a goofiness to Parlay's intention as well, but just the fact that the tragedy of it was so understated made it a lot stronger to me. It didn't hammer it over your head, but it was like, it didn't stop either. It didn't undercut it. It just said very quietly, like, this sucks. War sucks.
Like, these guys should be hanging out at a pub. They're not.
Yeah.
It sucks. But I'd also say a really strong element of season 2, despite the fact I still, like I said, I feel the direction was not what I wanted. I think giving Optimus as much character development as he got, it's the most he's had in about a decade.
The episode,
in the TV anyway.
Yeah, the episode near the end where everyone's having the party, and Optimus had that one scene where he's like, on the roof of the ship, kind of just explaining like basically saying, as an Optimus Prime nowadays, I was so happy to hear. He's like basically saying, I don't really know how to have fun. Like I'm so Optimus Prime, I don't really I can't really chill out in a room with people having a good time. It's probably basically going like I got the energy of like, it's better for the party if I'm not there. And I'm like, this is so interesting to hear, given it's like a reaction to the yoke of Optimus Prime you were mentioning at the top of the podcast. Oh, did I lose you?
For my connection's acting up a bit there. I heard yoke of Optimus Prime, and then you went.
Ah, no worries. Edit point, I guess. For whoever may be doing that. But yeah, that ending of that episode with Optimus doing the dad dancing, it was just a really it matched up so well with the criticisms we've had of Optimus Prime portrayals in the last couple of series, basically.
Something I really liked about that episode was how it opened. But Optimus shows up, he thinks there's a fight. It's a surprise party. The first thing he does is do something defensive. He puts up his face mask. It just oh shit, socializing. Oh no. And I really love when he's up there with Cheetor and he's just looking. That's when he forces himself to have the party because that's what a good leader does. But what he would love to do is stand outside and watch the stars.
Yeah.
That's just such a nice, characterful moment, and I think the actor really, he did what he could with the direction, like I said, but I think he did a really good job. And I think he really communicated the fact that there was this guy who is really kind of socially awkward, who's really good at this one thing, and is a really good, decent person. But given his choice, he's the guy you're friends with, who's like you're all going out for the night, and he's just like, it's just not my thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Except it has to be his thing because he's the leader of an army. And it was actually really nice to see him contrasted against Grimlock there, who was like, oh, I'm the MC, and I thought it was just very well handled in that episode.
Yeah. And also adding even more to Grimlock of like just laying out, oh, this dude runs parties all the time, and very well meaning, but also he probably talks through most of them himself. Like this is your Thor. This is your big jovial buddy who also loves the sound of his own voice, and you probably want to get mad at him, but he's never meaning ill of it. He just really likes talking, and it's like, oh man.
He is just kind of that heroic.
Yeah. Season 2 also had that oh good.
Yep. No, good.
I was gonna say season 2 also had that excellent Grimlock RC episode. It took the we're flying back to Cybertron thing and it took the idea of stretching that across multiple episodes, and like that's again something that you could say as a bullet point and sort of go, oh no, and it did such good with it of like like we're gonna just have like a couple adventures on the way home, and they're gonna mostly be solid too, and fleshing out this continuingly growing and varied cast. Like I really enjoyed that. I was almost bummed out when they finally got home, but then they end on this amazing cliffhanger where I'm like, okay, you know, I trust you all. I trust all of you writers now. Like, just give me season 3. But you know, you had the Sharktacons, you had even, you know, more stuff with Team Kid Appeal, which is another amazing decision to put those 3 characters together: Cheetor, Bumblebee, and Hot Rod.
Yeah, Croatan, which was an interesting setup that did pay off.
Did wonders for Hot Rod too. I think Hot Rod. I got into Hot Rod in season 2. Kind of in the sense of like, oh, he's an airhead, he's a himbo, but they're making it work.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna try and fiddle with. I'm wondering if I'm hooked up to the wrong Wi-Fi.
No worries.
See if that helps.
Starting to hear some chopping over here too.
Oh, wonders of technology. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Say something.
Hi, it's me saying things. I am just messing with my official Transformers action figures on my desk.
Ooh. Okay, you're still a little poppy, but you're better than you were. So,
hooray!
We were talking about Hot Rod and the Hot Rod team.
Yes, we got. I feel like I got to know Hot Rod better and accept him as like, I think because the role that a character like him usually fulfills was now being fulfilled by a trio of characters. It was a lot more easy to get into. Just like, okay, Hot Rod's the himbo, Bumblebee's the Boy Scout, and Cheetor is the naive child appeal, and the 3 of them together form the perfect kid appeal character.
No, yeah. I think it was a weird thing to see the 3 of them together, but I think it worked. I also find it hilarious when you think about it. Hot Rod was supposed to fill the Bumblebee role, and then they got rid of him and made him Rodimus. But that's a story for another time. But mentioning Cheetor there, oddly enough, he's not one of my favorite elements of the I think the character is fine, but I do think he's got some of the worst line delivery.
I wouldn't disagree.
You know,
I wouldn't disagree.
Yeah. But we haven't talked about 2 things that I think are really worth mentioning, which is Starscream's arc in season 2, and the fact that by I think halfway, almost all of the season 1 Decepticon cast is dead.
Yeah.
In fact, all of the season 1 Decepticon cast is dead.
If I actually had a big crit of season 2, it's that the wholesale slaughter of Slipstream's employees. At the end of the day, it kind of bummed me out. I was like, I get it. I get how it sort of narratively worked, but I feel like we wasted a lot of character potential in erasing all of them as the cult of Starscream. And I would have questioned that were I part of the process. But yeah. Otherwise, Starscream's arc was, especially the way that it then flows into season 3. Like it's a real interesting Starscream, the Cyberverse Starscream.
Yeah, he's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
He's properly nuts. He's also briefly all-powerful, but the idea of making Starscream just mentally gone, because normally the idea is playing him as very cunning and together and blah, 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 and here just having him like, oh, he was, at one point, but he came back from the dead, and it didn't exactly come back right.
Yeah, and he's still charismatic, and he can still boss people around, and now there's this whole crew of, you know, not drones, but people who want to be told what to do.
Yeah. Except Slipstream, who gets stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
And sets up a really good dynamic for Windblade. It was just like, one of you finally wanted to talk.
Mm-hmm.
But, and yeah, Starscream, like, he plays out through the whole season. I think his performance was great. I I was really glad at the end of season 2 that he wasn't killed. Having seen season 3, I'm now really glad. But yeah, just season 2, I think it was a notable step up in quality, and it surprised me because I wasn't expecting that kind of jump.
Yeah, I was looking forward to basically like Prime Light. Like, okay, we're going to have this. If we're having season 2, I guess they're all going to be chilling out on Earth, and there's going to be some hijinks, and then we'll have a real solid ender. Like, I was expecting like just a slightly better season 1, and I would have been satisfied with that. But minute 1, season 2 was like, no, we can do better. We can do much better. And like season 3, season 2 like shifts its status quo at least once in a major way, like halfway through. Season 2 and season 3 could easily have been seasons 2, 3, 4, and 5 if this were put up on Netflix.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And to frustratingly degrees the way Netflix releases things.
Yeah.
But yeah, season 3 then comes along.
Oh,
Bumblebee
sorry.
Cyberverse Adventures.
I don't want to interrupt. We left out one thing.
No,
we're
ahead.
gonna get legitimate abuse if we don't bring up one other thing from season 2.
Yep.
So I bought these 2 toys when the Spark Armor stuff was coming out, and I thought nothing of it. I was like, I want to pick up Skybite. I guess I'll pick up this Jetfire as well. To get the buy one get one 50% off, and then it turns out I bought like 2 of the most of the player characters in season 2, easily 2 of the most standout. The voice acting, the character delivery is very silly. It is some of the silliest stuff in season 2, but I don't mean that as a criticism because it knows what it's doing.
No, it's intentionally. Yeah, it's very, very, very purposeful, over the top dynamic.
Yeah, it's not identical to, but if I were to say it had parallel of tone to anything, is very parallel to IDW Thunderclash. As far as these 2 characters showing up, they're kind of a goof, their whole thing, but also like the way that part of the goof is everyone knows them and also hugely respects them. The fact
they're loved. They're loved and
Skybite shows up and Megatron's like, Skybite, my old friend, come and speak with me for a minute. And he doesn't command Skybite to join him, he requests Skybite to join him. Oh, it was so good.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. And we didn't mention them because one of them has a much bigger role in season 3, but Clobber and Lockdown were a joy.
Yes,
absolute joy.
The new like, okay, here's 2 names, 2 new models. They're just the goon pair. They're fun. We touched on the performance, but I will say like Cheetor was a fascinating character inclusion who had a very neat arc. He's not a strong part of season 2 really, but I enjoyed his contribution, and I liked the mystery of him, and it was a mystery that didn't overstay its welcome.
No, I think pacing was a real solid thing about season 2. Like, they would introduce things and it would be resolved not super quickly, but within a reasonable time frame.
Yeah. Like, I really liked the little vignette of Bumblebee just going like, hey, I'm seeing a thing, and some people going like, okay, sure, buddy. and then he's like, wait, no, it's like an Earth animal. Let me go ask RC, because she takes selfies with every Earth animal. And
each looking... Every single one looking more and more disgruntled by the fact this robot is grabbing onto them and going, cheese.
That was also, not to like keep like distracting from season 3, but I loved how RC's selfies with animals. The animals looked like what an animal would look like if a robot just sort of like grabbed them for a selfie. You know? Like the fight or flight confusion in their eyes was perfect.
Yeah. If I had one thing about season 2, I wish she was in it more, but
yeah,
I think that she was handled very well.
I'm
glad she has a good toy.
I'm hyped for her deluxe. She is also probably the best G1 RC design that's still a G1 RC that we've seen in a while. In that, I'd agree with that. They lean into the backpack and they give her boots so that some of the car mass can exist somewhere. It was just a really solid RC. And she in season 3, she also picks up guns a lot in really fun ways. And
giggling madly. But so anything else in season 2 that we're forgetting?
Off the top of my head, I'm now starting to think of season 3 stuff, so I think I'll leave it alone. The season 2 cliffhanger introduces a Chromia out of nowhere. and was an excellent. That was a real good cliffhanger that knew there was a third season, because you're like, at this point, by the time we hit that. Oh, sorry, one other thing. But by the time you hit that cliffhanger, you're like, you have referenced so much Transformers now. Like, I don't even know what you're gonna do. This could be Beast Machines. This could be anything else. We should mention also the friggin' multiverse episode.
Yeah,
where entire alternate timelines worth of the cast are just like ceasing to exist.
Yeah.
It felt like
and they're not brought back at the end.
No,
which I found very interesting. They're all still dead.
Yeah, there are timelines whose entire cast of Autobots simply ceased to exist while trapped in unspace. And it had a very there was a comedy to it I really enjoyed that made me think a little bit of like early season Red Dwarf, when there's like so many copies of the crew, and then like there's the one version which was like, was it Captain Rackenruin was leading the ship or something like that?
Yeah. But we didn't mention it, but the use of generics, entire armies on both sides of generics, several of which get named.
Red 5.
I'm like, wow, really wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, and it worked too. Like they served good purposes. It was like everything I loved about the Viacons, but now both factions got them. Is an army of Steves and an army of Daves.
God bless you, Steve. Wherever you are, man. But yeah, I want to get into season 3. Like, season 3 opens basically with the end of season 2. It's the culmination of the fight. There's back and forth. There's some twists, like Drift is evil, which was more of a shock than, when you think about it, it might have been. But because, they were like, hey, G1, yeah, Drift's a good guy. Yeah, no, he ain't.
Yeah, what if...
which also means for 65 million years he's been undercover.
Yeah, Drift is hardcore. I was kind of bummed out that he didn't come back as well, because I was like, I want to know more about this version of Drift who never went through a character change, but is stubborn.
Yeah. We think Hot Rod's killed off. Cheetor is killed off.
Yeah, along with Shockwave.
Prowl dies. Yeah. Jesus, one of your main villains for the entire show, offed himself on Megatron's orders. Megatron disappears, it seems. But it still felt standard. And then episode 5 happened.
Yeah, so
I was like,
before we cross that Rubicon, I'll just say, like, we have the ending of season 2, multiple character deaths. Bludgeon is finally dealt with as well in a thanks to the multiverse episode, in a fairly understatedly dark way, where he's ejected into unspace to, I guess, float until he ceases to exist. And yeah, like Prowl, kind of, again, in an understated way, dies off in a manner that sort of affects Shadow Striker.
The only the only people who cared were Optimus and Shadow Striker.
Yeah, and then the Shockwave. You
get a bunch of characters introduced.
Yeah, character introduction. Shockwave and Cheetor give themselves to the Allspark in a way that was kind of like, it felt like that was a thread that they might pick up if they had gotten another season. Like the specific way that they were dealt with. But then the skip was such that I thought I missed an episode. It was so like, no, we're just doing this. Because Hot Rod, who we just saw die, his black repaint from the toy line, right after it was established that, like, oh, also Shockwave and Prowl, who seem to be related to something we haven't seen yet, are dead, but they have toys. Also, there's this Hot Rod repaint. This is actually in the show. He's running around with Clobber in an apocalypse.
Yes, who is now... Yes. In the Matrix.
Yeah, oh man, the Quintessons arc was something. That was something.
That was excellent. That was a very... incredibly well done thing that brought characters to the fore that had been prominent background, or just like Clobber was made one of the main characters for half the show.
Yeah, and
she was great.
Yeah,
and the relationship she had with Hot Rod, where I don't want to kill you, man. You're my buddy, but he's told me to. But I love you, man.
Yeah.
I love you. This is harder for me. No, it's not. And he's like, Clobber, I love you dearly. Please stop trying to murder me. Like, oh man.
Well, and also Dead End.
So good.
Out of nowhere, the kind of amazing character of Cyberverse Dead End, where like they're trying to get someone else out of the loop, but Dead End is enough of like a cynical jerk where he's smart, where he's like, wait, what are you talking about? Hey, excuse me, wait, what? And then they're kind of ignoring him, and he just lets himself out of the loop, and is like, wait, why are you also? The true tragedy of the end of the toy line is Dead End is one of the real casualties in that he's not getting getting anything respectable.
Yeah, no. Well, we'll talk about the toy line in a bit.
Yeah.
But like your main cast for the show suddenly becomes McAdam, Percy, came out of nowhere. Clobber, Dead End, Hot Rod, and then Soundwave.
Yeah.
Who is fucking fantastic in this arc, to the point where him and Hot Rod kind of become best buds.
Yeah, they took the Soundwave IDW
and they
arc
don't
and
yeah,
translated
and they don't
it.
drop it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
When they go to the second half of the season, at no point does Soundwave go, "Ha-ha, Autobots." It's just like, actually, him and Shadow Striker kind of helping people out, or kind of not. Like, we're not dealing with ye, we're dealing with other things.
Yeah.
And there's a wonderful bit of animation at the end of the show I'll talk about later, but the characters were engaging, the comedy was wonderful, it was dark, it was heavy, the villains were some of the best Transformers has had.
Yeah, the Cyberverse Quintessons are something that I want to see again. They were such a cool idea.
I thought the voice performances were amazing.
Oh man, yeah.
I've got, like, Optimus shows up. Optimus is still a secondary character in this arc. He has some really good... Like, this is my least favorite universe, is a line that will stick with me forever.
Yeah.
Wheeljack steps on a dude?
Yeah, because the one bummer about the Quintessons is as far as Cyberverse is concerned, they are very terminally dealt with. They are not coming back. When I say I want to see them again, I want to see the concept again. Like basically having the grand victory followed immediately by and then the Matrix and then frigging cybernetic body horror showed up and just engulfed the planet between the ad break of these two episodes.
Yeah, that's how it happened. I was watching it on TV. That's what happened. It was an ad break, and suddenly what?
Yeah,
also the joy of watching a Transformers show on TV again. Oh. But there's so much to unpack in those episodes.
Yeah, the character work was fantastic. The whole thing of just Chromia and Perceptor, and then the introducing them and just seamlessly working them into the continually growing cast of memorable characters was super solid. Unveiling the final reveal on McAdam, I thought that was an incredible reveal. Like, I really liked the McAdam arc.
I thought that was amazing. I love that line. After he sees the future, he sees everything, and then he's just like, "So we're at it now. Shame I don't know how it's going to end." Because it took a minute for that to sink in for me. It's like, oh shit, he's going to die.
Yeah, he's caught up,
and he knew it.
Yeah,
he could have avoided it.
That's why I've seen the discussion people have, like, why didn't he get out of the way? And it's like, it's because that's the nature of who he is. Like, he's a whatever he is, whatever his people were, like, he's kind of above physicality in a weird way, where it's like he exists, but his mind is certainly not existing in the present at all times. And when his time comes, like, to him, it's not death. It's like that. This is where the loop for me ends.
He's known this for how long? Probably forever.
Yeah.
Like, he's been aware of the moment he will die for a period of time we can't comprehend. He's had plenty of chances to try and walk away from the future.
Yeah, he's never... And also... Sorry, I was going to say, it was also necessary to snap his Titan, into doing what it does. When the Titan's like, my last citizen, I was like, the story of that Titan was also just so, like, it's the common thread for the show.
Iaconus, Yeah.
Well,
Iaconus being introduced was something I was kind of about, and then suddenly like, oh, he's a war machine in the most literal sense. He's a living city that exists to kill, and they knocked him the fuck out because he couldn't stop.
Yeah.
And now you're basically going to point him at the bigger bad and hope for the best, and play rock music.
Yeah, he is the reason his citizens cease to exist, and like it's just continuing the thread of Cyberverse. It was yet another in the delivery very kind of understated tragedy where they didn't focus on it. They didn't like punch you in the throat like, and here's the wham moment. It's just like, oh, because we only have 10 minutes, we're just gonna lay out the complete tragedy of Iaconus. Anyway, continue on. And it's like, okay, I really like this delivery. Like the show made so many good cases for how the 10-minute runtime can be effectively used even for the better of forcing the removal of what we so commonly talk about when we talk about 22-minute animation of like, well, here's kind of a filler scene. Here's a fun scene. This scene was a little bit filler, a little bit of plot movement. It's like, what is filler in Cyberverse? I don't know. I don't think I would legitimately say there was no filler in Cyberverse. There were episodes that were breaks from the action, but there was never a moment in Cyberverse where I was like, oh, this is the filler minute. It's like, no, there's no time.
But yeah, like Megatron, I think was very well. Like Megatron steals a universal jump drive with Dead End because Dead End knows which way the wind is blowing, and comes back body horrored with Astro Train, who is a dick.
Astro Train
and hates Dead End.
Another tragedy of the show ending. The glimmer we got of the Astro Train Dead End relationship. Which was like this amazing foil almost to the RC Grimlock relationship.
And the Insecticons, by the way.
Also the Insecticons.
Who all look alike but are called Shrapnel, Bombshell, and Kickback.
It's killing me that the show is over when it displayed in such deafening volume how this show could have just gone in perpetuity and left so many threads for me too. Like, who is Astro Train? Astro Train, who apparently is never getting a toy of any kind.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. You're making me upset because like my current feeling about Transformer toys has not been a secret. If they made a line of really solid Deluxes and Voyagers for Cyberverse, I would have the entire thing.
It's never happening.
I'm probably going to get the whole Deluxe line as it is. No, it's not. And third party won't do it because it's not G1.
Yeah, it's in the same limbo as RID 2015, basically. Like RID 2015's Menasor is something I want.
No, animated good toys. That would be a good toy.
Animated. There's animated toys I want, but animated got good figures through its run.
Yeah.
RID 2015 in Cyberverse was like, you can pick and choose a few, but then also, now it's over. You're like, okay, but I guess I'll get the one toy they made of what was it? The, in RID 2015, the guy who came with Bisque is the Cross Combiner, the Beetle guy.
Oh, yeah. I had, like, the Scorponok was good in that line.
Yeah.
I liked him.
The Warrior toys, Warrior Decepticon toys that were not Wolf Guy, Steeljaw were categorically excellent. But the whole thing of like Megatron saw something terrible, came back with his own Matrix. Like the way the Quintesson arc opens is like what, and then the way it ends is another what. And you look at the episode count, you're like, there's enough episodes to tell one more arc too. Like. There were three arcs in season 3, and the runtime was 10 minutes. It's incredible.
Yeah. And also, like, I had a real fear when it said we're doing Bumblebee Cyberverse adventures. And I was like, oh no!
What a great joke!
Taken over the show.
Best joke.
Best
joke in the series.
Like what? 6 episodes were about Bumblebee at the end.
Maybe,
which were kind of more about everyone to They were more about the people Bumblebee was meeting.
Yeah.
Or the people he brought with him. Because they were like... Oh, man. Like, I want to talk about those because those have some great episodes. But, like, the Quintesson arc is just... blew my mind.
Yeah.
And then they bring in Starscream again.
Yeah.
And, like, Starscream's a... What?
Yeah,
What's he doing?
Starscream the judge. And I love that they also took just 2 other... like sci-fi tropes, and they're like, these are the other representatives we found, the cannibal race and the Greys. It's like, okay.
Probe. They want to probe.
One wants
All
to
he
eat.
wants to do is probe.
One wants to eat, one wants to probe, and then there's Starscream.
And Starscream's in the middle. Who just wants everyone to tell him he's amazing.
Yeah. I love...
And then he murders the Titan.
Yeah. Like the way that they kept having this, like, it's a bit of a cliche word. I don't know a better one. Some dark stuff happens while Starscream is also, he's doing it, and also being hilarious when he's, like, sitting down the population of the planet. He's supposed to begin the end of the universe, and he's like, before I do, I need to tell them all how wrong they are at length until we find the two people who are probably dead, so I can have them personally apologize to me. And it's like, you're already...
Then the universe can end.
You have the power of a god, but you are demanding petty personal satisfaction. It was like... It's not even that it's a great Starscream. It was just good sci-fi, in my opinion. Like...
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah.
And
I always think it's important when you can just stop calling it a good Transformers show and call it good sci-fi.
And I just realized this is
for any age group.
This is something that we've talked about with some of my favorite stuff from IDW version 1 as well, when it was just good sci-fi with world building. And it was happening again. That's why a lot of Cyberverse I kept thinking about, like, More Than Meets the Eye Till All Are One really specifically. And just going like, this is like it's like they all read and enjoyed the parts I read and enjoyed and are now putting it into a TV show. And I felt so heard by that show. It was really good.
Yeah, no. And then this arc ends, this wonderful arc ends, and I'm like, oh god, what now? And it's just like, well, we're subdividing the planet. Mm-hmm. You have your half, we have our half. We won't have a war anymore, but don't come over to our side of the fence. And have a series of stories about Windblade and Bumblebee, but largely about everyone that they're meeting. Also, Clobber's an Autobot now because she's too nice.
Yeah.
And she's still hanging out with Lockdown.
Yeah.
Which I feel like Hot Rod. I feel like Hot Rod basically said, "Can we post her there? Why? Well, she's got a buddy on the side of it." And I want her to hang out with him.
Yeah, she doesn't ask for much. She's easily satisfied by a certain number of things, and one of them is she can, even if they're on both sides of a wall, as long as they're together, she'll be happy as she can talk to her buddy Lockdown.
Yeah, and she's got Hot Rod if she needs someone else, because they're buddies too.
Yeah.
Like, she's, like, Clobber is great. Clobber is one. The fact there wasn't a moment, because there's a time skip, but there's no moment where someone goes like, and then Clobber became a good guy.
Yeah, she just...
It's like, nah.
It turns out, like, much like, I've only seen season 1, but she gave me a lot of the same energy as Scorpina from Netflix She-Ra, where you just have this big tough lady who is working for the bad guys, but really she'll work for whoever's cool. Like, she just wants to chill.
Yeah. Yeah. She ain't bad. She's just like, alright, yeah, cool.
But there's episodes we move into... because you're talking about how they, it's who they're meeting along the way. I just want to say one other thing. Again, one more way Cyberverse was just the new G1. These episodes were basically G1 Season 2 toy commercial episodes, except 100 times more effective and just better. I actively want figures of all the people that they went out and met. They're actively all getting new figures. Yeah. Most of them gimmick figures, unfortunately, except for Aquaman. But still...
and Thunderhowl.
Oh yeah, Thunderhowl is getting a really good one, and Aquaman's getting he's like the best of the warrior class. So it's Wild Wheel and Steve Irwin who are getting kind of left out high and dry.
Yeah, Steve Irwin and Cosmos.
Yeah.
The Irwins were in this.
Do you know how hard it is to get me to think a Steve Irwin joke is funny in 2020? Like. Or to even accept that it works.
They stopped being funny a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because the jokes are always mean now.
Yeah, and they just
the joke is always like, haha, he died.
Yeah. This was like a real genuine, like, they took the Steve Irwin caricature, but the joke wasn't that's the caricature we're going to work with. The joke was, like, this really understated tragedy of this washed up reality star who's just sad that his adventuring pal went missing. and who is unable to not be a content creator. And I'm like, there's a lot going on with this guy. I actually keep forgetting his real name. I keep calling him Steve Irwin.
Sky something?
He had a weird name.
Alien, let's see.
It was
Meteor Fire.
Yeah, Meteor Fire is a very hard word to say. It sounds like meaty.
Yeah, Alien Hunt with Meteor Fire and Cosmos.
Yeah. Also, like, Cosmos, as like the as like the Robin, as the you know, the sidekick to a reality TV show, Transformers TV star on Cybertron. Like, there's so much there that I'm saying all these words where it's like anyone could go, wait, stop, what did you just say? And it's like,
yeah.
Also the episode's 10 minutes long and it does it seamlessly, and it's like, what?
Yeah. I'm just looking through the you had the first one, which was the enemy line, which is like, again, keeping that the lines of good and evil are blurred here, because what the Shadow Striker, who previously hated Bumblebee, what does she do here? She helps him escape with Windblade.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was great. And then she's like forms this like gray area Decepticon team with Soundwave for the rest of the series, which I thought was really cool. But like, you got the Thunderhowl episode, which is introducing Silverbolt, basically Beast Wars Silverbolt into the show.
And also like
with a really cool.
Okay, good.
Yeah. No, go.
I was gonna say, like, not just introducing like someone he's kind of fulfilling a Silverbolt caricature, but like under the auspices of being a literal knight, which is a thing in the mythos of Transformers, and also on Cybertron, there's a cursed crystal city that some tyrant opened up, like literally out of a fantasy book, adjusted for sci-fi perfectly, and it has a clean ending where it's like, the tyrant, they're gone. Like, this didn't work out, because that's what happens to tyrants who make cursed cities in fantasy. It's really cool.
Yeah. Wild Wheel. Why is Wild Wheel the cowboy? Because he grew up in cowboy times.
Yeah! Holy crap! Yeah!
He's a literal outlaw.
It's a trope that we've joked about in this fandom of like a Transformer who wakes up, in the wrong period, and then that's their caricature. It's like literally happened to this guy, and also some really good Optimus Prime stuff too. Like, I loved Optimus in these episodes where he's like, everyone's like, great leader Optimus, you've saved us so many times, and he's like, I honestly would just I'd like to do some hard work and just finish this up.
I need to lift some things.
Yeah.
I need to be building stuff with my hands. Please go away. Like, I'm happier this way.
Yeah.
But the journey to the Repugnus one was fantastic.
Yeah, with foreshadowing earlier in the show too. Like, holy crap!
Yeah, and little injector bugs.
Yeah, and the using the Fusors as wildlife inspired choices every time it happens. And I love how we see the Repugni and we're like, oh, I know what the episode about them's going to be, and it's like, guess what? You're wrong. The episode's going to be it turns out they took the idea of the Nails from IDW, the non-aligned, who are not in either faction. And I just thought it was a perfect way to do it, where it's like, no, these are just other cultures on Cybertron that didn't participate. And like, that this one is just like dystopian affluence. I was like, this is so cool. Like, all these different story types that you've adjusted, and I feel, to perfectly fit Transformers. Like, to work in alt modes as the crux of that dystopian affluence.
And I think it was really good to have Grimlock as your central character there, because he goes through the same thing. Except his identities are a lot more gelled than they're there.
Yeah, he's doing it by intention. And I liked that idea was revisited with the Repugnus Society as well, of like, just the idea of a Transformer who is not only reshaping their body, but reshaping like their neural net and their physicality to like shift balances. Like, it's a cool idea.
Yeah. And then you had like the most story episode, which was also like Wonderful World of Astrotrain. But also, Rack and Ruin gets a focus episode where it turns out how many people were dead on Rack and Ruin's ship that he became captain.
Yeah. Well, also who
was left
in the year
there was
2020,
Teletran X, and I would have given it to Teletran X.
In the year 2020, Rack and Ruin got a focus episode in a Transformers show and a transforming toy of some level of quality.
Yep.
Like, holy moly.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're idiots.
Oh, the scenes when they're like the constant self-affirmation and just like crawling towards the whatever, the warehouse and stuff, like good stuff, good comedy.
Yeah. And like Ratchet, Soundwave, Shadow Striker, they're all trying to actually deal with this shit. Why is there a big gun in the middle of Decepticon territory? Meanwhile, just like, we're helping.
Yeah.
I'm helping.
Well,
You are helping.
Yeah,
And Astro Train, by the way, like his whole thing, I love his performance.
yeah.
Really good performance.
Astro Train was a standout. There were so many standout characters in season 3. Astro Train being one of them. Like, also just making him big.
Yeah.
Like, taking whatever that note was that IDW version 2 got, but, like, rolling with it really well. Like, he is big.
Yeah, he's just tall. He's a tall dude. And then, like, at this stage, the episode that caught me off guard, Dweller in the Depths. Here's a...
So I had a journey with that episode. I'm really happy that Hammer Boy's toy is good, because I would like him, but when they said the Dweller, I was like, oh, cool, you guys know what the Dweller of the Depths is. At this point, I'm not surprised. Y'all seem to know everything about Transformers. And then thinking, like, oh, man, I wonder if they're going to, like, get those tones. I'm like, oh, they're getting kind of Lovecraftian with this. Oh, that's really neat. Literal Cthulhu lives on Cybertron.
Yeah.
When that design...
There is a Titan Cthulhu who is messing with your fucking mind.
And has tentacles coming out of his face and a design sheet showing what's under the tentacles. Like, the artist put out the design sheet on Twitter or something, and I remember
I haven't seen his one.
Oh, let me go find it, because I replied to the artist to basically... I had to... When I saw it was the artist who designed... the Dweller, I had to send him a message of, like, that was one of the most... I never thought I would want or be so into, like, just Cthulhu in Transformers. I'm gonna try to dig that up for you, because, like, yeah, that was so good. And the fact that they also didn't, they left it there. You know, they're like, this is in proper Lovecraftian whatever. We can't kill the Dweller. We just have to flee. And tell people, don't go down there. Like, do not go down there. That was one of my favorite episodes. That's an episode you could show someone on its own.
Yeah.
And just, you tell them.
Yeah, no, I loved, I loved it.
Yeah, you just tell them, like, Slipstream's mind has been shattered because of a plot event. Anyway, that's all you need to know. Just watch this and see what you think.
Yeah. Also, some weirdly deep paleontology cuts in that episode with the wildlife.
Ooh.
Some very, like, obscure animals that someone did some Googling about. But that one, like, I shouldn't have been surprised at this stage. But I was just like, we're friggin' doing Lovecraft here.
I found you.
And we're doing it without blinking.
I found you the link. Leo Chiola.
Ooh, let's see.
Put this up. Just look at the Dweller's faceplate.
Okay.
Like... That's a design.
Okay. The Dweller. Load. There we go. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That is just Cthulhu.
Yeah.
That is just Cthulhu for Noggin.
And then the face without the tentacles. Like, there are sockets that the tentacles go into. And, like, it gives me the impression this Titan did not have tentacles all the time. That's something this Titan installed.
Yeah.
I hope that we get to this is,
and then we get to the wrap up of season 3. Yep.
I was gonna say this is a definition of the Dweller in Transformers fiction for me, and I hope this is another thing that, like the Quintessons, that I hope we get to see again. Like the Dweller being this is something I want to revisit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be fantastic. But yeah, as I said, we get to the end of season 3, which is a culmination of the whole arc, really, which is Megatron met someone that fucking terrified him. He knows he's coming, and he wants everyone to be prepared. And meanwhile, Optimus is misreading a few messages and thinking that he has to take out Megatron.
Mm-hmm.
Because, oh no, because he has to get his Matrix. which I love the idea of Optimus being fallible. It is not explored enough.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, you messed up there, Optimus. And I was watching the episode, and there's just a moment where Megatron's looking at like a tiny little wireframe hologram, while he's going like, "They're going to be here soon," and blah blah blah. And I literally, because I was watching it on a playback, and I paused the episode, and I walked really close to the TV, and I said, "That is fucking Tarn."
Oh,
And then the episode happened, and I think their approach to that was wonderful.
so you got to be surprised by that.
Yeah, I because I was watching it live. Remember, I was watching it as
Right.
I watched it the day it aired.
Yeah, the rest of us. I wish we could say there was a chance, but
it all aired in like 2 weeks here.
yeah. The rest of the world, we did not get that chance. That screen cap was making the rounds faster than you could like mute a hashtag. Like, thankfully the context was not being shared, so I was still kind of surprised by what they were. But yeah, they put Tarn in a cartoon, basically. Like, it was really
Yep.
in touch with like that. It was in touch with us. That is one of those moments where it's like, you cannot claim to me that Cyberverse was not a show made for us to enjoy as well.
Yeah, it apparently was May's idea, where they were coming up with the idea of the perfect Decepticons, and she basically came out and said, "Make them look like him."
Oh, that's excellent.
And people are just like, "He's got a Decepticon for a face." Yeah, he does. And narratively, it makes who's going to see themselves as the perfect Decepticon? And then we get Megatron X,
Yeah.
who is basically our Megatron but shitter.
Well, and friggin' the
Who's giant and black and might have killed regular Megatron?
yeah, a little unclear. And the flashback showing where the timeline diverges is also like really.
I believe that is something that.
Oh, I paused for you. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like,
being annoying.
yeah, we got some of that VoIP going on. The flashback showing the divergence in the timeline was, again, like, it's the obvious answer, but they just did it. They're like, yeah, what if Megatron just, I don't know, freaking shot Optimus in the face before the war started? It's like, okay.
Yeah. And like Megatron was the one asking for unity, and Megatron says one shall stand, one shall fall, and it doesn't sound dumb because it's contextual.
Yeah.
And like Bumblebee gets some cool moments, and then the big fight, and I loved it. And then the last scene where Windblade wakes up and everyone's waiting for her, and in the crowd, because the animators of this show are fucking amazing, Soundwave and Shadow Striker are with the Autobots.
Mm-hmm.
Watching and welcoming Windblade back, and that wasn't in the script, and I think that was a wonderful little addition.
Really?
That I feel, yeah, that wasn't in the script. That was not scripted. That was something the animators put in themselves.
It was so perfect, because it told you, like you'd mentioned before, we're not gonna cartoon character mind wipe some of these characters on their base level, and like seeing them in the crowd, I was like, even though the show's over, I feel so good knowing that those two are doing the right thing.
Yeah. So apparently, like, that was not in the script, but apparently the animators were doing it after the confirmation of season 4 not coming was done, and they said, like, we're going to give a bit of resolution here.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love that. But I actually, because I saw two little, like, blue and purple people in there, and I was just like, is that who I think it is? I rewatched and was like, it is who I think it is. That's fantastic. And then the show ended, and I'm mad.
Yeah.
Because like this show, like Prime is my favorite Transformers show. This show was on the road to at least being a very good contender for a competitor, if not unseating it. And I think I do not think season 4 would have been a step down. I think they would have just keep on going with that momentum.
Oh, there's
because they proved,
yeah. There's
so much they could have done.
There's absolutely no indication that season 4 would have been anything but just as good, if not another, like, amazing step in another direction. Like, the show proved it could have lived in perpetuity for at least, like, the Rescue Bots run. And I want to clarify, because I know I think I've given this impression when I say this. I'm not saying this as a dig on Rescue Bots. Rescue Bots deserve that run. Transformers shows that are good deserve to have long runs. And Cyberverse, I think, really deserved, like, it was so loving of all the source material in a way that was so uncynical and so eager. And it was the perfect evergreen show that, like, people who are tired of G1 and people who only want G1, whether or not they want to admit it, this show hit marks for all of them. And I just hope, and I'm really optimistic now of, like, whatever cartoon we get. Like, Cyberverse is the show that proved to me that, and I'm not saying all of us, but I'm saying all of us, me included. We gotta just, next time they announce a Transformers show and we see the bullet points, we just say, all right, those are the bullet points. Let's see what the show is. Because you know what? We can't, we gotta, I think Cyberverse needs to be the little moment where we go, let's just assume that we don't know what the show will be. Because this is not the first time this has happened. And Cyberverse was absolutely not what everyone worried it was going to be in a bad way.
No, I would say, like, my reaction to the Netflix trailer was very much influenced by my experience with Cyberverse. I don't know what to predict anymore.
Yeah.
I know that some of the voice cast are the same. I know Jason Marnocha is back, which is awesome. The writing looked fairly decent. I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but I do know, like, there is no predicting anymore for me. A show could look brilliant or look terrible, and it could be anything.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give this show a chance. It's, let's see what it does.
Yeah, and the silver lining of Transformers shows just always sort of coming to a close when they hit their high notes is, like, if this Netflix show ends up not being all that great, it'll be over and a brand new thing will start up again. So, like, it's not like it'll inform the next, decade of Transformers. It's just another Transformers show, and usually they end up being pretty good. So,
yeah. Now, we said a lot of positive. I think you'll agree.
Oh, yeah.
Let's be negative.
All right.
Let's talk toys.
I have nice things to say about some of the toys.
I think that's the key word there.
Yeah.
The key word is some. If this show had been a bit more RID for 2015, I would be less annoyed by this. But this show had a huge number of characters I loved. And only a few of them have toys that I want. And some of them have only come recently. The line I wanted to happen the whole time has arrived and died before it's really even gotten going, in my opinion. So, I mean, the thing about the toy line is that it, and some, very obvious thing to say, it is very, very strongly not targeted at us.
Yeah. And that
is fine.
Yeah, I really want to stress what you just said. Like, it's not a bad thing that the toy line is mostly for kids to enjoy, and because it should be. And the way I look at the deluxes, as much as, like, yes, I want another Build-A-Figure wave, and I think that the show deserves at least 8 more of those things and a Build-A-Figure of somebody. But, like, now that we know that it's probably going to be it, the
Build-A-Figure After Train.
I mean, that's too small. But
Well, you make bigger boxes.
The way I'm thinking of it is this deluxe line is something that probably would just not have happened if the show was not, like, hitting it so well, and it's less of a line that's dead before it could start, and it's more like, this line is an incredible bonus that we're getting. It is a victory lap. I do want more. I'm real bummed out we had to pick 8. I hate that means that we're discussing whether or not the 8 deserve those slots. Because they do.
Yeah, no,
it's just there deserve to be more slots.
Yeah, even, like, what do you say, RC or Thunderhowl? Like, I like them both a lot, and I would like them to have really good toys. I just want other characters to have really good toys too.
Yeah,
I'm in a conundrum.
Like, I go on and on about how it is kind of awful that Windblade is not in the Build-A-Figure line. It sucks.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
It's a bad decision. However, if you're going to tell me, like, whenever I say that, half the times I was like, yeah, she should have gotten RC's slot. And I'm like, no. There is no good answer for this. with the 8 slots we have, but no. I would not accept the idea of someone saying, yeah, we were going to do RC, but we put Windblade in instead. That would just make me annoyed too. Like,
yeah, because you were saying, like, why isn't RC getting a choice?
Yeah, because Grimlock's in this, and I want
like,
Grimlock and RC to hang out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, they're going to be buddies.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even saying that romantically. I just think they're buddies. Really good buddies who blow stuff up together while laughing.
Yeah,
jovially.
You got to have an adventure pal. But the toy line, the thing about the toy line that made it a bit of a bummer was that the warrior class was compromised at the start. And not compromised necessarily by gimmicks,
very badly,
but like compromised by
design.
Yeah, like just from everything I've read and all the coverage I've watched and everyone I know who's handled them, Wave 1 and 2 of the warrior line just felt chintzy. Like it just felt kind of like middling, and it felt like it didn't feel like warrior toys. And warrior as a price point had finally kind of become something. And then it sort of it became a pseudo gimmick line, and it's not bad.
It was very strange. It was very strange to have a gimmick line like the 3-step changers and the 1-step changers and whatnot, and then have your main line also be a gimmick line to the point where the characters are really compromised. Like every single one of those early of the first wave of warrior figures, bar one, had something that was just irreparably preventing the figure from doing what it should. Or what it could, rather. Like, Shockwave was the standout, but he was, like, a lot of people were kind of thinking at the time, oh, Shockwave might be the new norm, and it took, until the most recent wave for the Warriors really to hit a good stride? When they got renamed into Deluxes?
I've heard, so the Deluxes are a different price point than the Warrior toys. I think they're slightly more expensive.
There's, like, Deluxes, and then there's, like, are they? Like, because they're the deluxe. Because you got the deluxes we have, and then there's the warriors that got renamed to deluxes, aren't they?
No, I think it's still warrior class. Like Hammerbite and Starscream are still warrior class. But the warrior toys, like, even having a gimmick, even one that compromises a limb, it's like, if you think of it as like He-Man from like the original He-Man line, it still works in that context of like, these are the Transformers character toys, and to, spruce them up, we're focusing a bit on giving them a character related gimmick. And it's like, all right, I get it. It's just where a lot of them, the gimmicks were relying on stuff like gravity, for instance, as opposed to a spring, or stuff like that, where it's like, this just is really sort of, it just feels kind of limp. And that mixed with the Scout toys doing this, again, conceptually, I caught myself saying it, and I'm trying to stop. It's like, it's not, I would say it is not terrible. The Scout toys were robot mode and half transformed alt mode as the two modes. It's just that in every price point, it was like, okay, the Scouts have a weird half alt mode and a robot mode with a sort of spring loaded feel to it. Okay, the Warrior toys have He-Man style character gimmicks that are also not fleshed out with lots of production value. So okay, the 1-step changers are arguably pretty good. Like Whirl is a great 1-step changer from everything I've seen. So just there was never the Generations like moment with Cyberverse in year one, and which I think it was just a bummer, because RID 2015's Warrior toys were not like hardcore deluxe toys, but they felt Generations adjacent.
No, they were competent. They had a competence on them. They had a very different design idea behind them.
Yeah.
Whereas they were supposed to be simpler versions of deluxes. The Warrior toys in Cyberverse were designed to be a mildly posable gimmick toy. And as collectors, we went in with the attitude of this being a pain. And I think, like, what drove me nuts was when we had stuff like Shadow Strikers stuff, where you didn't have another option. Grimlock got a kind of okay Ultra figure. It wasn't quite what we wanted, but if it had been the only one to come out, I would have been okay. But when the show is doing such a good job of doing its job, making you want figures of these characters, and they're just not there. I'm so glad Clobber and Rack and Room got the figures they did.
Yeah.
Because those look like fun, solid, they've got a gimmick, the gimmick's not intrusive. Meteor Fire and Hammerbite, they got decent ones. but like you said, where's my dead end?
Oh no!
Like you've got the ultra class line. Where's your Astro Train in that?
Meteor Fire is in the Meteor Fire and Wild Wheel are in the we don't know what the gimmick is line.
Right.
Hammerbite.
I remember Wild Wheel had a dodgy one.
Yeah, it's Hammerbite and Screen Accurate Starscream are the final two new Warrior toys.
Granted. I keep forgetting there's a new Starscream.
Yeah.
Which also means there's no Slipstream.
TJ got him, and he's very simple, but it's functional. Like his gimmick kind of gets in the way of some of the outward arm motion, but like from everything he was saying, it's like he's got the right alt mode and the right robot mode, and at this point, like that's all I really want. It's like one Starscream to look like he looked like in the show.
Yeah.
But no, like it's a shame because like I said, I feel like this ends up making us get crotchety at toys in a way that begins to get selfish to a degree I don't like, myself included. And I'm hoping that the deluxe Build-A-Figure wave does so well that whatever show they do next, they go in thinking maybe we should just do a deluxe line from maybe end of season 1 onwards. We see if people care about season 1, but we'll go in soft planning for something for year 2, and that would be nice. Because the deluxes are pretty cool. They are definitely like beyond what I actually need for this line, because they all have ankle tilts and wrist swivels, for instance, barring Grimlock. He doesn't have wrist swivels, but they all have ball socket necks and ankle tilts and waist joints, and I'm like, I love this. But I would be able to survive with, say, no ankle tilts and no waist joints if the toys were still this solid. I'm glad we got them. And I do think the deluxes have generally been pretty good. Like, my least favorite one so far is Shockwave of the 4 I have. But it's only because he doesn't feel like he's doing a lot new or a lot that feels like a huge step up. But I really like my Optimus's joints are really good, and that sounds like maybe it's not common, but I really liked Optimus. Hot Rod and Grimlock I'm really enjoying, even though Hot Rod is very just red. I like him as a Transformer still.
Yeah, wrong color.
Yeah,
wrong color.
He's missing a ton of paint that feels it's all sculpted there, and I think part of the reason is like his back fin folds up, and I suspect that they couldn't figure out how to actually paint it in a way that would survive the way it folds up. So I kind of get it, but I'm looking forward to collecting the Build-A-Figure guys. Like, I still need to track down Bumblebee and Megatron sometime, and then we got RC and Thunderhowl coming out by the end of the year, and it'll still be nice. It's just it isn't everything I want. I want Wild Wheel and I want Meteor Fire. I'm gonna be getting those weird yell at them, I think, gimmick toys, so I get those two guys, and there's a Dead End. I'm gonna get it because I want Dead End. But it's
we all want Dead End. I did not expect to ever be saying that.
There is literally no Astro Train. I think there's still a chance. There's one chance. The Quintesson pack with the screen inaccurate pair of victims and the Black Hot Rod with the Sharkticons, those never got revealed. They just showed up on shelves. So Cyberverse is in this position where maybe I'm just gonna say this a few times, maybe a gimmick toy Astro Train will just show up by the end of the year. I'm shrugging while I'm saying it, but I think I
would like that.
Yeah, 10% chance, I'd say. 10% chance, 1 in 10. There's just an Astro Train. He won't be perfect, but he'll do things. And like, all right. There is a Dead End. He's Scout class, so his robot mode looks fine. I'll send you a link here. I keep forgetting that this one exists. This will be the Scout class toy I buy because I want Dead End, and this is the only toy he's getting.
Right, let's... Cyberverse gets me annoyed.
He also has an uppercut.
Oh.
He does, his left arm
nice.
does a sonic uppercut, which is interesting.
I feel like he should be doing a sonic, like a really broad gesture of like, yeah, sure.
That's what he's doing when he transforms to car mode, because he doesn't finish. He's just like, whatever, I can roll now. That's all I need to do.
Yeah, Just push me.
Like really? In a way,
I'm driving. Yeah.
I am now stretching to justify a toy I want to buy, but like, you know, it's sort of in character that like if he's going to turn into a car and he's not in a rush, he's like, I'll just transform till my wheels are out and then whatever. Why do I have to finish? Who's going to judge me?
Yeah, no, it could work.
I'll come out here. I'll stretch again. The car mode silhouette that his legs turn into resembles Turbo from the GoBots, and I like the toy of Turbo from the GoBots, and that's another reason to pick that up. This is, boy howdy, poor Den End. That's his toy.
It's the enthusiasm that's really making this work. But yeah, it's just It's just when you think about how many characters the show did so well, and on what we could have had, and like even like sticking characters like Wild Will and Meteor Fire in, like, great, but one, those seem like really random insertions into a bizarre line, and two, like, who? What about everyone else? Well, where's my Cup? I want old man veteran Cup, who ain't taking none of your shit.
Oh, you know,
like,
he's
I want Skull Cruncher. Where's my Skull Cruncher?
Titans Return. Titans Return. Just use that.
No, because that's a person. I want big dog crocodile.
Just don't transform it. Just, you know. I'm not trying to like to, because you know, your point is solid, but like to me this is old hat now, because I adore every single Decepticon design from Rid 2015, and that was the one where I went through it, and so this being the end result of Cyberverse, like, I'm bummed out, but I've been through this once, so it hurts less this time.
The closest I came was Beast Hunters, where I was just like, can we please have a good Predator King? Please. No?
You got a bunch of Predakings.
I very specifically said good.
You got a bunch. That's all. You need just a whole bunch of them.
I just wanted one with the right face. An Eider mode.
Well, you know, I guess sometimes people are ridiculously demanding, and
you entitled shit. I suppose you say Gurren Dragotron or whatever he was. He had the same face in the toy in the cartoon.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking through the line here. Like here's some of my compromises. The Scout class, I will probably eventually be picking up Ramjet and Dead End because they only exist there. One step changers, like Bludgeon, Whirl, and Repugnus are one step changer only. Along with
Bludgeon is very similar to the RID design. You could get that.
No, I have the Rid one, but he's got a specific face. His mouth is always open. I need the mouth is always open. I have seen the Repugnus one step changer actually looks really good as a transforming toy that's simple.
No, I do. I think that's a good use of a design.
Yeah.
But being honest, I think that looks good.
Over in Warrior class, Hammerbite and Cybertronian Starscream sound like I'm actually going to like them. Hammerbite more so. Stealth Force Hot Rod, that'll, I guess, since I like the Deluxe so much, I should pick up the Warrior Hot Rod, who looks terrible, but that's the only way that they're gonna have him in black repaint form, so I guess I'll give it a try. Clobber and Rack and Ruin I'm hyped for, because I know I've messed with Clobber. I don't have her yet, but I messed with Hooplas, and TJ just got Rack and Ruin and was telling me about him, and they're solid. Like, Rack and Ruin, the thing about him I want to try to do is see if I want to get a little diamond saw or something to cut the heads out and then put them back on as swivel joints, so he can look at himself. Ultimate class had a very good Optimus Prime, but it looks like Ultimate... Oh, wait, there's an Ultimate Shockwave? Did I miss this?
Yes. There's a couple. There's at least one.
Oh, this is the Energon Armor Shockwave.
Yeah.
No, the best Shockwave, I think, is still Ultra, not Ultimate, but Ultra, like the one who's in the boxless tray.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I still like that more than the Warrior, actually.
The big one.
The Warrior's not bad. It's just I like that one a lot. Spark Armor's done with, so I don't have to worry about that. Deluxe, I'm getting all of them. And exclusives, Stealth Force Horror.
Quintesson?
Oh, Quintesson. Yeah,
Quintesson?
I want to get the Quintesson, but I don't want to pay retail price for the Quintesson.
You don't want to pay retail price for anything.
True. But the Quintesson, especially so, because it's kind of an expensive box, and it's been on sale once already, and I don't need the Prowl or the Shockwave that it comes with, so I'd like to try to catch it. I think it retails for 40 Canadian.
What?
So I'd like to try to catch it for...
Who picked them? Who picked them for that one?
Someone who knew that it was coming out before the show, because they were an anti-spoiler. They were super red herrings, actually. Like I kind of dig that they were the ones who showed up.
Because for a while I was convinced they were coming back in the Quintesson arc because of it.
Yeah. No, it was a good throw.
I was generally waiting for them to appear. Oh, their bodies have been revived as slaves. Nope.
Well, and the helmets can work with anyone who's that size Spark Armor figure, and so there's a Bumblebee that's that size. There's an Optimus that's not that size. Actually, no, the Bumblebee isn't that. So Bumblebee and Optimus can't wear the helmets, but Skybite can, Jetfire can. So
could have been Dead End. Just saying.
Yeah, this is one of those times where it's like we as Transformers fans are immensely spoiled in many, many ways. And so sometimes it's like, hey, you know what? This is our humbling moment. We're a really good show. We actually can't just go get high-end toys of every single character we like. You know, we got to be humble or something.
But I don't want to. I choose not to be humble.
Actually, I'm just looking at everyone who can
be my man-child father.
Everyone who can wear the Quintesson helmet. Let me list the names here. So there's Jetfire and Skybite. They were alive.
Good.
There's Ratchet, who was alive. And then there's Shockwave and Prowl and Starscream. Those are the other three who can wear the helmets. They were not ever wearing the helmets. So there's actually only three characters
and
you can.
A giant head.
It's Jetfire, Skybite, and Ratchet are the toys you can canonically put those helmets onto. So there's 2 helmets, but 3 toys, so it still works.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind.
Yeah.
It's kind. Yeah. They're not making us buy multiple Quintessons to outfit all the toys with helmets.
True.
It's kindness.
I mean, that is one approach to take.
Yeah. But no, good show. Some decent toys. You just gotta dig around a bit. Hey, hopefully we get another one of these. Like, I love Cyberverse, and there's so many people who didn't bother watching it that it's gonna be recommendable for a very long time. And it's such a, you know what I love about the show is the 10-minute runtime. That's one of my favorite things, because when I recommend this show, I can also just be heavy-handed and not feel bad. I can be like, no, listen, I know I always say watch the show, and you're like, oh, I'll get to it. You watch it tonight, mister. I'm gonna call you tomorrow and ask to make sure you did, because this takes as long. This is like a 3-hour commitment to watch a season, and if you haven't even started, then I'm gonna be poking you for the whole year. In an age where we are binging through entire seasons of 1-hour episode shows on streaming services, if you try to tell me as a Transformers fan, I don't got time to spend a couple hours watching an entire series that is as long as a movie, like come on, it's worth your time. But yeah, I'm digging through this toy page now, and I'm just gonna keep rambling, so I'm gonna pass it back over to you, because you're the host, I'm the guest. What's up?
Amazing show. Watch it, for the love of fuck. Watch it. Yes. It's a couple of hours, 3 hours for a season. You have nothing else to do right now if you're sensible. And if you tell me that you do, you're lying, because you're just looking for something to keep you busy. So go watch the hell out of it, because it will give meaning to the last. If you do 3 days. Watch a season a day, you will have given meaning to those 3 days in a way a lot of the days of late have not had meaning. Yeah. They are boring, repetitious, bored. Well, to the point where the last few months have disappeared because I don't know what's going on. So go watch the fucking show.
worst case scenario, you can become one of the rare people who has watched all of Cyberverse and doesn't like it, because most of the people who talk about what they don't like in Cyberverse, I find, have not watched most of it. So,
Or, yes, there's a lot of that, which is bizarre to me. Just like, oh, I'm not in... It looks so blah, blah, blah. Just like, watch the fucking show.
Yeah, it's just the time commitment is so low that I just don't have patience anymore for it. I'm just like, all right, listen, if you don't want to watch it, you don't want to watch it. Don't make up excuses. Like, don't tell me, oh, I don't know if I have the time. Like, it's 10-minute episodes. Yeah. You can tell me you don't have the time.
It's so... I don't want this to be a footnote. RID 2015, for as long as it went on, was a footnote. It won't be remembered majorly by the fandom. And whether you love the show or hated the show or whatever, you can't argue it had a presence. Prime had a presence. Animated had a presence. The Unicron Trilogy had a presence. 2015 didn't. Rescue Bots will be remembered by people who are really deep in the fandom or who have children. I don't want this show to be forgotten. I don't want the 3 seasons of a show to be treated as if it was a footnote, when this was some of the bravest, and I really have to emphasize that word, bravest writing and execution in Transformers history. Mm-hmm. It produced one of the best animated action shows on air in the last decade, and I will fight anyone who says differently. Like, you can throw out She-Ra's, your Dragon Prince, your Voltron, whatever you've been loving. This has stood up to them, in my opinion, in terms of just sheer quality. And I really cannot emphasize enough how much I want people to watch this show.
I just like to say this is better than G1. Partly to try to get people to get angry and want to go watch it to prove me wrong. But, like, I think it's better than G1.
Oh, it's much better than G1.
It's basically a better, I call it a better G1. It's accomplishing a lot of the same stuff G1 did with a bit more quality and a bit more recognition of its own existing fan base that now exists, whereas G1 didn't have a fan base yet.
Yeah.
And
it's the G1 you keep telling yourself you're watching.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Is like a lot of the grumpiest folks, like, I'm always like, hey, you keep talking about how you want a better G1. Now there is one, so go put your money where your mouth is. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. That's fine. Yeah. But, like, if you're one of those folks who keeps grumbling about, I'll just do G1 with CG or something, it's like, yeah, come on. All right, they did it. They literally did G1 with CG with no humans and more death. Like, what else?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, wind blades in it.
And that you can watch for free. You can watch for free.
Yeah. No, I mean, also, I'm going to say this. Given the number of people who constantly, and I use this word very specifically, moan about all the hate watching they choose to do of shows they know they won't like and they want to watch it so they can complain about it, if you're a Transformers fan and you do that and you're not watching Cyberverse, like, you gotta friggin' be humble. Like, I'm so tired of especially with, like, garbage like Tiger King making the rounds now and people putting in the, like, 8 hours to watch through all that.
Still haven't seen it.
Don't. It's not worth your time. People are talking about it. I don't mean to go on a tangent here. The only reason anyone's talking about Tiger King is it is thinly veiled reality television that got dumped on a major streaming platform the week everyone went into lockdown. That is the only reason anyone's talking about it.
Right.
I watched the whole thing, also. I watched the whole thing in a day.
Oh, God.
And I was amused by it.
I know the guy in it because he was in a Louis Theroux episode about people keeping big wild animals as pets. I remember because when I saw the trailer, I said I've seen him before, and he was in that, and he was a crazy person.
Yeah, Louis Theroux.
My tigers love me.
Louis Theroux's productions have 10 times the dignity and respectability of the Tiger King production. Because I was entertained by it and then got more angry as every day passed when I realized how much I had been misled by that quote-unquote documentary's own editing. And then I saw more people talking about it as though it was a factual documentary, and I got more angry because it was using a lot of reality TV editing to create narrative in a way I didn't enjoy. And that is what documentaries do. Not to keep on this tangent, I'll close up here. This is what documentaries do. I think Tiger King was a a very specifically dishonest production that is getting credit for stuff it doesn't deserve credit for. And if you haven't watched it yet and you're like, I don't know if I should, then you're better off than those of us who did. So Mikey, you made the right choice. Just don't bother. It's not worth your time. There's so much else to watch that's actually good. Like,
You can rewatch Dark Crystal.
you can rewatch Dark Crystal. You can rewatch Cyberverse. There's so many things that
I
are...
could. I'm kind of tempted to tonight. Because
Yeah.
I can, because it's 3 hours long.
Yeah, it's, you know what? That's less than half as long as friggin' Tiger King, and you won't have a show trying to make all these different friggin' like semi-illegal cases to you through the lens of even a filmmaker who's down for keeping illegal animals. Anyway, I'm gonna stop going on about that. Yeah. I mean, if you're listening to this part of the podcast, you probably already saw Cyberverse and already liked it. So that preaching to the choir.
I've not. There are many. I've seen plenty of people who sit through podcasts or something, and they still don't engage with the product until afterwards.
Okay.
I have seen that. So, there's one. There's the podcast going on now. It's like People versus Star Trek Voyager. It's actually quite worthwhile listening to if you want to listen to some Star Trek nerds both defend and attack a show with equal vigor. But they said once that they got feedback of like the amount of people listening to their show who have never seen an episode of Star Trek Voyager, and who either started watching because of their show or have been listening for 3 years and have never seen an episode. Like, it's fascinating to me.
Man.
So there is someone listening who has listened this far who has still not seen Cyberverse and has no interest in seeing Cyberverse. And to that person I say, shut up and watch the fucking show.
I'll be the good cop. I'll just say, hey, you know what? Thanks for listening through a whole thing about a show you don't want to watch, because I don't really get it, but, you know, good on you for patronizing.
Also watch the show.
Yeah, I mean, yes, also watch the show. But good on you for patronizing this fine podcast with your time.
No.
Fine, well-edited podcast.
Yeah, by handsome people.
Yes, good handsome editors doing good handsome work.
Tall men reaching for the stars.
They don't have to reach very far.
Because they are too tall.
Yes, you see, what we're saying is it's tall, which means that they're closer to the star. Therefore, the stars are closer to them than people like us who are not as tall.
We are distant from the life-giving orbs. They are close.
Yeah. I will have to use a rocket to achieve the cosmos, whereas some simply reach up.
Oh, it's quite magical.
Do you know there was a Cyberverse?
sad.
There's a Cyberverse Optimus Prime toy who just comes with the arc from G1, and he can put it on.
That's one of the armor. Yeah, I've never seen it in shops. I've looked, but I've never seen it.
Is TJ or Aaron got it on sale and was like, "Yeah, if you get it on sale, it's big, goofy. You know, it's goofy fun." I just like that. That's the arc toy that came out for Cyberverse. It's like, yeah, it's a Prime can drag it like a trailer. It's actually smaller than him in vehicle mode, and he can just put it on.
Oh man, how is that not in the show?
I think that was one where it was like.
Oh man, that's
Okay, good.
That's something we never got. Prime mech, Prime piloting a Prime mech. Oh,
Yeah.
oh god. Sad now.
Lessons will be taken.
well-
Lessons will be taken from this show. I hope.
Yes. I really do hope. And like I said, I now am going into Netflix show, which before I was quite trepidatious about. I'm going into it with an open mind, and
Yeah.
I think that's the important thing. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there because we've been going for 2.5 hours almost. Once you include pre-show banter.
Yes.
But Chris, and I realize I haven't said your name this entire show, but Chris,
Who?
what as always, Vangelus, internet personality Vangelus. Better?
What? Hi, I'm Board Games Man, hand unboxer. What's going on?
Single board man.
Yes, solitaire boardsman.
Lovely fellow. Works down the road. But yeah, as always, we have to ask you to shill yourself. Like the fact that at this point everyone must know what you do.
I mean, I'm not going to say like, well, yes, but I mean, if you're listening to this kind of podcast, like, probably. But hi, I host the TFW 2005 podcast, where we tend to just kind of do aimless listener question news coverage, toy hall stuff right now, but it's a happy place. We do have an episode that came out with Amy from the Underbase, where we talked about Cyberverse seasons 1 and I think 2. And also the opening year or so of IDW version 2. So I'm gonna be trying to grab folks for stuff like that here and there when I remember to. But yeah, Transformers podcasting. We do stuff on TFW's podcast, WTF and TFW. I got a YouTube channel, Vangelus Central on YouTube, where I talk about toys now and then and other stuff. I'm also on Twitter. I'm always active on Twitter, yelling about Transformers and other interests of mine and food. So that's all my spots.
That has become a very interesting segment. That has become an interesting segment of the podcast. I've just talking. We're getting to the Vangelus cooking hour.
We're leaning into it. I just recorded with Aaron and TJ again, and we got to the off topic. And basically, I've gotten two pieces of correspondence from listeners who are specifically like, "Please talk more about food. It's actually really interesting, and I'm listening to it while I'm cooking food." And I'm like, "All right." Because you know what? When you're probably in lockdown, like, a way to not only keep your mind active, but to also save money and to keep your health a little bit better is cooking your own food. So I'm always up for talking about what I do. 'Cause I'm not a professional cook, but I cook a lot. I've cooked enough stuff to feel like I can give some recommendations. And Aaron's like a friggin' food scientist or whatever that cooks with blowtorches. So
that's what they hired him for, not the jets, but the food science.
Yeah, the helicopters, not jets. It's helicopters.
Well, such as they are.
Yeah.
No. That's an old and deep cut. But, yeah, guys, thanks as always for listening. If you want to send us any feedback, it's moonbase2@gmail.com. You can also send us something over on Twitter or on Facebook or on Libsyn or on the various places. Yeah, like I said at the start, no idea how this show is going to come out. If we have a slow news week, this could end up being the main episode. Who knows? But, yeah, as to date as we're talking about this, RC has had some very awkward photos released, which some people are outraged by, some people are amused by, and some people are aroused by. So there's differing opinions.
I'll date this literally. It is May 9th, 2020 when we're recording this. So we're talking about the, I think, third go of RC reveals, second go of photos, and she's having that sad masterpiece Hot Rod story of like promo photos where it's like, I guess in Hot Rod's case, I was like, I guess you just hate Hot Rod, whoever's taking these photos. In RC's case, I'm like, I think you hate RC, but you're also trying to get some cheapo attention or something. Anyway, that's terrible photos. They are terrible. They're bad photos that someone was paid for, and it makes me angry that someone was paid for those.
I mean, I'm not upset by them because I just think it's fucking hilarious. But I said to Andy today, I really wish I was in the meeting where these photos were shown to the people and they were okayed, where someone give a big thumbs up.
Yeah, I was just I'm gonna here's a little peek. If you want to check out our thoughts on the photos we're talking about, that'd be WTF at TFW episode 584. You'll want to hit up because that'll hopefully be out when you hear this. It was real weird to me that...
Not about your release schedule. Hi-yo.
Yeah, exactly. It's real weird to me that, like, one of the qualities I'm attributing to Ocular Max's unofficial RC is it's the only one that didn't try to hit the hornies. It's the only one that doesn't have that sweaty 1999 13-year-old energy all over it, which is weird. I didn't think I'd be lumping the official one in with those, but, you know.
Okay, I'm actually going to go over this now. So, Fans Toys...
Fans Toys had the swappable.
They tried too hard.
Yeah,
they tried too hard.
Yeah, the swappable boobs, O-face, and finger me hands on the Fans Toys one.
Leading to actual swappable boobs.
Yes. Oh no, it had swappable boobs. It had swappable boobs.
You know,
but then
it had the straight chest and then like the indented to give her boobs.
Yeah. It had normal and then it had boop, and then because it was swappable, that left room for someone to go like, what if human? What if meat boobs?
What if multiple different types of meat?
What if 3 levels of meat boobs?
Azalea,
the Ocular Max one had
the various is.
Yeah.
she's Masterpiece, which has the Nicey, who I'm still probably going to get, but is just like an unapologetic. We're doing an anime robot girl who happens to have RC head, but there's another one in there somewhere. I'm forgetting.
Toy World's Leia, where there is no back half of her car mode. The back half of
it's just her butt.
Yeah, it's just a woman in the back folded in half. It's real weird looking.
Her crotch pointed towards the world.
It's kind of weird how like Nicey is really really loud and also very sweaty, but somehow
Nicey is intending to be really loud and sweaty. It's like
somehow Nicey is less sleazy to me than the official Masterpiece and the Fans Toys one. Like the
there's an honesty to Nicey that I appreciate.
Yeah, I'm bummed out that Nicey is Nicey because it is based on like an equally cheesecakey design that was not a Transformers design that I think is like way more interesting. And it's because also like my main bummer, right? Not to turn this into like a whole subcategory in your podcast. It's specifically when it's RC that I just get like annoyed now because it's like that is the history of RC in this fandom is 13-year-olds in the 90s getting sweaty and making, whatever they can to get sweaty about RC. And it's like, RC has, as a character, has done way more interesting things. Maybe we talked about one of those RCs in this very podcast. And yet the overwhelming energy you get off of any kind of high-end RC is like, how do we... Remember when we were 13 and we masturbated? How do we get that energy onto RC? Like, it's...
Nicey comes with a different head, which I prefer, to be honest. But, I actually, like, again, as someone who has just been very open about the fact I'm not particularly offended by a lot of stuff, but I very much want to talk to people who are approaching it from a different angle I am, because I find that, good conversation is good. RC has been gone through the ringer, and when you think about, you've got Prime RC, IDW RC, Cyberverse RC, to a much lesser degree G1 RC. Because when people start trotting out that she was an amazing character, she was a character.
She was good for a G1 character in that she had like two.
She was better than Alicia.
She had two motivations, which is a lot for G1. I don't know.
Yeah, she also got Daniel living in her brain.
Yeah, which is it's some cool body horror to throw in there. But no,
Yeah, and that did get a toy.
Let me quote myself from episode 584. The thing about RC right now and that whole the discourse that tends to erupt around those releases is like the main thing I don't want is when people are like, I don't get why people don't like this, because it's like, y'all, come on, are you like, is this that whole intentional being a dumbass thing? It's like, you pretending you don't understand why someone doesn't like this. Like, come on, don't be stupid. Like.
No, that would be a very willful ignorance, shall we say?
That's one of the things I always see floating around on social media. Like, I don't get why people are so annoyed by this. And I'm like, buddy, like, do you not get why people don't like getting shot? Like, it's not a hard equation to put together.
Oh dear. Yeah, no. I like I said, I always want to see some real discourse on these things, because some people say some very silly things, and someone in a polite and meaningful manner needs to call them out on that. But yeah. Well, I've probably got plenty of thoughts for tomorrow on the main show, but
just make sure you credit me.
Make sure you credit me.
Time. Give me credits.
I will credit you.
Credit me. I want credits.
I will credit. I'm credit. You're getting the fucking credit.
Credit me.
You happy? I miss these moments, and then I have them, and I remember I don't miss them that much.
That's the story of me.
I can't breathe. I think the show's over now.
Anyway, that one's there for the editor. I was just like, hey, I know it's hard work editing these, so why not let you? I'll gift you the murder of another person over Skype.
I think the show
When you cut that together, please bear in mind there's a little bit of VoIP lag that you should probably adjust for, so there's not as many weird pauses. But
Oh god, my sides. Oh, Chris, never change. The world would be less without you. Guys, we are done.
I'm always there on Twitter to talk about Transformers. Just twitter.com/Vangelus. All right, hi,
Yeah,
what's up?
we're done. We're fucking done because I need to breathe. Bye-bye, everyone.
Ciao.
Oh man, my heart.
You are now leaving